Chapter 1. London. Lily Street, Stone Quarter, Manchester. The bustling and spacious streets are bustling with traffic and people. The thin figure of a young man was extremely conspicuous in the crowded street. As a teenager, I wore extremely ill-fitting clothes. Underneath the jet black hair are delicate eyebrows. Pedestrians passing by cast curious glances at him. Whose kid is this? He looks really good. She is definitely a rich woman. Rock sat on the roadside with a helpless expression. He dragged his cheeks and looked at the people coming and going. 3 days, 3 whole days. Even if you don't have Goldfinger to travel through time, at least you can let me know where this is, right? Eagle Country in the 1990s. That's right. He is not of this world. But a time traveler who doesn't know whether he is lucky or unlucky. In his previous life, he was just a street writer. After staying up all night typing, my vision went dark and I fainted. Woke up again and came here. Became an abandoned orphan. 10 years spent in an orphanage. Until the orphanage unexpectedly closed down 3 days ago. He just walked out of the orphanage and came to Lily Street. The only thing that gave him some comfort. He only has the same face as the readers. This was his only psychological comfort. The good news is that time travel has caught up with the time travel trend. The bad news is that there is no system that comes standard with awakening travelers. He is just an orphan without any background. I don't even know what world this is. 3 days, if not for the help of kind people. He might have starved to death on the streets. If I had known about time travel, I would have looked at British history and maybe I could have made a lot of money. It's a pity that money can't buy it. I knew it earlier. Fortunately, I learned English in 10 years, otherwise I would have been dead end. But what are we going to do in the future? If we continue like this, we will definitely starve to death. I won't be the first time traveler to starve to death, right? Crow sighed decadently and stood up sadly. Don't want to starve to death. We need to quickly find a place where we can eat. But where can I get a half-year-old child to work? Crow walks with his head down in thought. After walking only a few steps, I felt a pain in my chest. Something furry and fragrant bumped into his arms. Then an exclamation was heard. Ah! Crow subconsciously reached out his hand. He grabbed the sleeve of the person in front of him. But he still overestimated his current self. I only ate a little bit for 3 days. Coupled with the physical regression to the teenage years. Unfortunately, Crow was pushed forward by the force. Suddenly, a refreshing fragrance poured into his nose. Feel the slightly hot softness in your hands. Crow squeezed a few times subconsciously. This bun is absolutely pure meat. It's just that the filling is a bit too little. Bad review. It hurts. Really, don't you even look at the road when you walk? Hermione frowned, her brows filled with pain. Upon hearing this, Crow quickly stood up and stretched out his hand to pull her up with some embarrassment. Sorry, I just got distracted by my thoughts. You, Hermione. After Hermione stood up, she subconsciously smoothed her hair, revealing her golden curls. I saw this somewhat familiar little loli. Crow couldn't help but exclaimed. Do you know me? Then you can't walk without looking at the road. My creamy white buns have been crushed by you. This is the Dragon Kingdom big bun that I waited in line for a long time to buy. I haven't even had a chance to eat it yet. Hermione pouted her lips in embarrassment. He looked at the big milky white bun with its fillings exposed in distress. This is a bun I bought after saving my pocket money for several days. Now it's all spoiled before I can eat it. At this moment, she only felt sorry for the buns she had waited in line for a long time to buy. He didn't pay any attention to why Crow knew him. Crow touched his nose and his eyes flashed. I'm sorry about Beazai. My name is Crow Wells, and I will find a way to compensate you, Beazai. Yours? What's your name too? Is it Hermione too? I have a friend also named Hermione, who also has flaxen curly hair. I thought she was my friend just now. Hermione raised her head angrily upon hearing this. The little hands were holding 2 milky white buns with their fillings exposed. For the sake of your sincere apology, Beazai doesn't have to pay for it. My name is Hermione Granger. What's the name of the friend you're talking about? He has the same flaxen curly hair as me and the same name. Can you introduce it to me? Hermione blinked curiously and expectantly. Same name and same hair color and hairstyle. This was the first time she encountered such a coincidence. I couldn't help but wonder if that person looked like me. Crow's eyes flashed when he heard the answer. Just when he was about to open his mouth, he casually fooled him. Suddenly, a harsh electric sound sounded in his mind. Original characters detected, the emotional treasure chest system is officially activated. Activation progress 103070, 90. The system activation is successful, the system function introduction is passed to the host, please pay attention to receive it. The mechanical sound just fell. Crow didn't have time to say anything. I felt a sharp pain in my mind. A feeling of dizziness followed. Crow rolled his eyes and fell forward weakly. Dog system, you might as well not wake up. Those were Crow's last thoughts before he passed out. Strong speechless emotion detected. Reward, bronze treasure chest. Crow. What's wrong with you? Don't scare me. Come on, someone's fainted here. Crow. Wake up. Crow. Hermione hugged Crow in panic. Little hands kept shaking his shoulders. When Crow fainted, it happened to fall in her direction. Before she could react, Crow had collapsed on top of her. If it weren't for Crow's slight stature, she might not be able to catch Crow's fallen body. Strong panic detected. Reward, silver treasure chest. Chapter 2. Lily Street, 444. A stark white room filled with dolls and books. Crow slowly opened his eyes on the soft white bed. Looking at the unfamiliar ceiling above, the soft bed beneath him. There is a familiar fragrance on your breath. Crow frowned and sat up. I met Hermione and broke the big meat buns she bought. Then. System. Crow's eyes widened suddenly. Emotional treasure chest system? You can change the name to cheating system. Whose system can knock out the host as soon as it appears? Helpless emotion detected. Insufficient emotions, unable to obtain the system treasure chest. Hear the cold sound of system machinery. Crow's mouth twitched speechlessly. The wool comes from the sheep and is used by the sheep. This system knows how to recycle. After secretly muttering a few words, Crow fell into deep thought. Absorb information from the system. He already has a basic understanding of the system's functions. Emotional treasure chest system. Simply put, it's Crow who makes others produce various strong emotions to get rewards. As long as the opponent's emotions are strong enough, there is a chance to obtain various treasure chests. The grades of treasure chests are divided into bronze, silver, gold, diamond, and king. Emotions that can trigger treasure chests include excitement, anger, hatred, speechlessness. Of course, not all treasure chests produced are useful. The stronger the person who produces the treasure box is, the stronger his mood will be. The more valuable the treasure chests produced are, the higher their level will be. For example, angering two people at the same time, one is Dumbledore and the other is an ordinary passerby. If both of them are equally angry, then what Dumbledore produced might be a king-level treasure chest. Ordinary passers-by may not be able to produce treasure chests. Comparing the two, it's a clear decision. Because one is a muggle and the other is the top white wizard. Making others feel various emotions, let others break their defenses. The emotion must also be generated by a capable person to be valuable. Crow's eyes flickered slightly. It's hard to say how happy or excited you are, but it's very easy to make someone angry and break his defense. Are you sure it's called the emotional treasure chest system, not the death system? Think of the consequences of angering those people. Crow had already figured out where to bury himself. Crow, wake up! Just when Crow was speechless, a clear voice sounded. There was unconcealable joy and excitement in his voice. Crow looked up. I saw little Lolita Hermione standing at the door holding a plate. There was unconcealable excitement on his little face. Strong excitement detected. Reward, silver treasure chest. Tile grass. The legendary treasure girl. How long have we known each other? I gave myself 2 silver treasure chests. Crow exclaimed in his heart. There was a frown on his face, pretending to be confused. Hermione? Where is this? Why am I here? Whose bed is this? Why does it smell so good? And is this a handkerchief? Well, it smells good and soft. Hermione, who walked to the small table carrying the dinner plate, was a little confused when she heard the question. She didn't remember there was a handkerchief on her bed. Could it be Hermione's eyes widened and she turned around hastily. I saw Crow holding a piece of pink cloth and looking at it. Occasionally I would smell it out of curiosity. Hermione's breath hitched at the sight. His little face turned red instantly. Her beautiful eyes were full of shyness and anger. Strong shyness detected. Reward, golden treasure chest. Golden treasure chest. Treasure girl is indeed a treasure girl. Not long after we met, I contributed 2 silver treasure chests. Now even the golden treasure chest is out. If only there were more treasure girls like this. He seems to have found the correct way to open the system. Crow couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. There was a look of confusion on his face. He played with the soft fabric in his hands. Hermione quickly dropped her plate when she saw this. He rushed to the bed in a hurry. He grabbed a small pink piece of fabric and stuffed it into the closet. After doing this, she breathed a sigh of relief. But the shame and annoyance on his face did not dissipate at all. That's her. Before she could question Crow in embarrassment, Crow pretended to be confused and asked proactively. Is the fabric just now important to you? Sorry, I didn't mean to touch it. If you feel dirty, I can wash it for you. Crow's words made Hermione's question stop in her mouth. She eyed Crow suspiciously with squinted eyes. He looked at him with a sincere look in his eyes without any hesitation. It's like he really doesn't know what it is. Hermione could only close her eyes helplessly and stop thinking about it. Maybe he really doesn't know what it is. A strong feeling of helplessness is detected. The target's emotional treasure chest drops have reached the upper limit today. Please host choose another target. Crow was not surprised when he heard the system's words. Each person can only provide 3 treasure chests per day. He already knew this after absorbing the information from the system. It's just a pity that I missed a treasure chest. Maybe it's another golden treasure chest. When he thought of this, Crow felt so heartbroken that he could hardly breathe. Although I don't know what's in the treasure chest. But the products produced by the system must be high quality. Things will definitely not be bad. Chapter 3. That's not expensive fabric, don't ask any more. Tell me about you, what happened to you? The doctor said you were malnourished for a long time and you fainted suddenly due to hunger. Why didn't you eat and starve yourself to faint? Is it because I'm picky about food? That's not good. You have to eat fruits and vegetables. Hermione blinked. The brown pupils were full of doubts. In her understanding, there is no such thing as not being able to eat. The only thing is whether you want to eat or not. So she didn't understand why Crow was starving. Crow was stunned for a moment when he heard this. Then he lowered his head and pretended to be disappointed. I am an orphan. The orphanage that adopted me 3 days ago couldn't bear the pressure and went bankrupt. We can no longer raise so many children, and since they are already 10 years old and can stand on their own, we can no longer burden the orphanage. If I give my share of food to my younger siblings, they will be fuller. But after I came out, I never found a job and had to live on the streets until I met you. Strong sympathy emotions detected. This target's treasure chest has reached its upper limit today. I see, no wonder you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mention this, I'm just curious. By the way, you must be very hungry now, right? Those are snacks made by my mother. Eat some to fill your stomach first. I'm going to tell my parents that you've woken up first. You wait here for me to come back. Hermione looked at Crow apologetically. Looking at Crow's thin and bloodless cheeks, she hurriedly took the plate filled with delicate snacks on the table. Place it thoughtfully next to Crow. After whispering a few words, he ran out the door in a hurry. Don't forget to close the door when you go out. Crow picked up a small snack and shook his head in amusement. As expected, Hermione is the most kind-hearted among the 3. She is a beautiful person with a kind heart, and she will never deceive me. She is still a treasure girl. After just knowing her for a while, she opened 3 boxes for me. By the way, I want to open the systems box. Crow put down the cookie and rubbed his hands expectantly. Wondering what to start in these boxes? This is a magical world. If you open some ordinary things like money, he probably would have fainted in the toilet from crying. The host currently has a bronze box, 2 silver boxes, and a gold box. Which one should the host open? Open bronze first, then silver, and finally gold. Open all the boxes for me. Crow spoke with anticipation and without hesitation. Ding! Congratulations to the host for opening the bronze treasure chest and obtaining the magic spell, the floating spell. Levitation spell LV1, it can make objects float. The size of floating objects depends on the level of the floating spell. Crow accepts the message of the levitation spell. There was uncontrollable excitement on his face. Although it is only an entry-level magic spell. But it's magic. The magic of the legendary wizard. Keep opening it and open both silver boxes. Bronze is already cursed, so silver is better. What can gold do? Crow rubbed his hands eagerly. Congratulations to the host for opening the silver treasure chest and obtaining the talent, photographic memory. Congratulations to the host for opening the silver treasure chest and receiving 500 gold galleons. Photographic memory greatly enhances memory, you can remember it clearly with just one glance. 500 gold galleons, the common currency in the wizarding world, which can be exchanged for pounds, with an exchange ratio of 1:5. Is this what photographic memory feels like? It feels like the memories in my mind have become clearer. Crow narrowed his eyes in enjoyment. The gift of photographic memory made his brain feel cool. Memories that had been blurry before became clear again. He even remembered some details clearly. Crow enjoyed it for a while before looking at the second reward. 500 gold galleons is better than nothing. It just solves the problem of no money. Looking at the small pile of golden galleons in the system warehouse, Crow helplessly comforted himself. It's not that he doesn't need money. On the contrary, he needed money. Especially gold galleons, the currency of the wizarding world. But there's something about opening galleons from a treasure chest. It's hard to describe in one word. Keep opening it, the last gold treasure chest. Let me see what I can find. A big melon or a baby dragon. I don't mind either. It would be better if you give them two together. Golden treasure chest, open. Crow looked expectantly at the golden treasure chest slowly opening on the light screen in front of him. Congratulations to the host for opening the golden treasure chest and obtaining the profession, wizard. Wizard LV1, awaken the source of magic, use magic, and become a wizard. Feel the mysterious power pouring into your body. Crow's eyes widened in shock. Is this the one for my golden treasure chest? The one with the big guana? The one with the magical animals? Oh, that's right. I went berserk without magic power before, which means I'm either a muggle or a squib. I got a magic spell before, but I didn't have any magic power at all. Didn't you tell me earlier? Crow complained for a while before reacting. It seems that he has not experienced the magic rampage at all. Doesn't that mean that I was originally a muggle squib? Crow's mouth couldn't stop twitching. Chapter 4. Forget it, I have preconceptions, thinking that getting a magic spell means you are a wizard. But thanks to the wizard, otherwise I might not even be able to enroll in Hogwarts. Crow shook his head and sighed. The system opens my character panel. Host, Crow Wells. Occupation, Wizard LV1 Talent, Photographic Memory. Magic, Floating Curse LV1 System Backpack, 500 gold galleons. This is the first step. Crow looked at the panel with satisfaction and nodded. Two strong emotions of pity detected. Reward, 2 bronze treasure chests. Crow was startled by the system's beep. He reacted immediately. These 2 bronze treasure chests were probably provided by Hermione's parents. It was probably Hermione who told her parents about her experience. That's why I have these 2 treasure chests. Did not expect. Treasure Girl not only provides treasure chests herself. You can also ask others to provide you with treasure chests. Good review. Dad, Mom. Hurry up, Crow is waiting impatiently. Hermione's urging voice came from the door. Crow quickly regained his sad and depressed look. Now his character is that of a homeless kid with no food to eat. Although he is indeed homeless. It is true that there is not enough to eat. After a while, the door was opened from the outside. Hermione walked in with 2 middle-aged men. Once inside, Hermione made a beeline for the bed. Introduce Crow in a clear and sweet voice. Crow, these are my parents, and they are both great dentists. So my teeth have always been good, except for the front teeth which are a bit big, but there are no cavities because I rarely get to eat desserts. That's why you can see me buying steamed buns instead of small cakes. Hermione looked a bit off as she spoke. That girl doesn't crave dessert? She also longs for delicious desserts. But her parents are both dentists. Dessert freedom can only be realized in dreams. Hermione was a little disappointed and her mood instantly dropped. Crow heard this and pushed up his weak body and got out of bed. Hermione didn't care about the loss when she saw this. He quickly stepped forward and helped Crow up. The Grangers saw this. Withdrew the hand that wanted to help. The two looked at each other in surprise. This was the first time they had seen Hermione care so much about someone. Feeling the negligible weight leaning on him, Hermione's eyes flashed with pity again. Children of the same age. I was thinking about how to sneak dessert. Crow was thinking about sharing his remaining food with his younger siblings. For a moment, her pity for Crow grew. Suddenly her eyes lit up. Crow is a homeless orphan. Doesn't that mean? The more she thought about it, the brighter her eyes became. Hogwarts. A dark office. The flame of the candle swayed slightly in the breeze. Professor McGonagall was busy at his desk. Even if it is summer vacation, she still didn't choose to rest. No way. Dumbledore was not a man of affairs. She is responsible for basically all the work. She needed to get everything ready before the students returned to Hogwarts. We also need to prepare admission notices for new students. The admission notice is ready. I really look forward to the expressions of those children when they receive the owls. They must be very excited. And the little guy will come back here this year and return to his world. I really don't know what Dumbledore is thinking. He must have suffered a lot in the past few years by leaving that little guy to be raised by that kind of family, right? Everything will pass. He will make new friends after entering Hogwarts, and everything will get better. Professor McGonagall whispered a few words sadly. He waved the magic wand in his hand. A cup of steaming coffee appeared out of thin air. Professor McGonagall was just about to take a sip of coffee. The quill in the pen holder on the table suddenly floated in the air. Hey! The pen of acceptance and the book of admission have detected the little wizard with magical power rioting again. Professor McGonagall put down her coffee. He watched curiously as the quill landed on a piece of white paper full of names. Write the new name in the blank space. Finish these. The quill floated back into the pen holder and stopped moving. Professor McGonagall picked up the list suspiciously. Look at the name of the person whose ink is still wet on it. Crow Wells? Did you experience a magical rampage as an adult? What a lucky boy. Today is the last day for admission notice. It looks like I need to prepare one more admission notice. Professor McGonagall smiled and put down the list. Pick up the quill and write carefully on a piece of yellowed paper. She doesn't think it's troublesome to write more admission notices. On the contrary, I am very happy that a new little wizard has awakened. Experience magical riots before admission letters are issued. Detected by the Book of Admission and the Pen of Acceptance. Only the quill pen linked to these two artifacts can write automatically. This child can experience magical riots at this time. It's enough to show that he is a lucky child. A strong feeling of relief is detected. Get reward, silver treasure chest. Crow was stunned for a moment when he heard the sound of the system. This treasure chest was obviously not provided by the Grangers. Hermione had also reached her limit. Then who gave himself a silver treasure chest as soon as he came up? When a person is sitting at home, a treasure chest comes up from the sky. Crow suppressed his doubts. He bowed slightly and thanked the two. Mr. Granger, Mrs. Granger, I'm really sorry for causing you trouble. I didn't expect to faint suddenly. Thank you for saving me. If I have a chance, I will repay your life-saving grace. Crow bent slightly and thanked him sincerely. This is not a lie. The idea of repaying the kindness of a person in the Dragon Kingdom with a spring of water in my previous life is engraved in my soul. Even if I change my shell in this life, this idea has not diminished in any way. This time if Hermione hadn't brought him back, I'm afraid that I will be picked up by a rich woman who doesn't know how old she is. Then. Chapter 5. Get up, kid. It was Hermione who saved you, not us. It was Hermione who brought you back. We just looked for a doctor. Nothing is too much trouble. We have been in the clinic and just came back. Hermione has been taking care of you. If you really want to thank her, just thank her. This is the first time we've seen her care so much about someone. If you want to repay your kindness, just be good friends with our Hermione. She has grown up and still doesn't have a true friend. The two of them spoke to each other one by one, making Hermione feel shy and embarrassed. People his own age know that he has no friends. It's a very embarrassing thing. You might even be looked down upon. Thinking of this, Hermione carefully raised her head to observe Crow's expression. Mr. and Mrs. Granger looked at this scene amused. The two looked at each other. Crow is an orphan. So can they adopt him? Hermione liked Crow after all. Most people her age don't want to be friends with her. They all ostracized her because they thought she was a freak. They would often see Hermione sad alone in her small room. This time the couple was worried. If only Crow could become good friends with Hermione. Then they don't have to worry anymore. And they couldn't let a 10-year-old child wander alone. Hermione, thank you, I scratched your buns and you saved my life. If you don't mind, I can be your friend. You will be my first true friend. At the end of the sentence, Crow leaned into Hermione's ear and spoke softly. 10 years in the orphanage taught him how to get along with children. The best way is to have a little secret in common with her. This can quickly bring the relationship between the two people closer. Since you said so, I promise to be your friend. It's not that I need friends, I just pity you and that's why I became friends with you. Hermione raised her little face a little arrogantly. But the excitement that could not be concealed in her words betrayed her heart. Strong happy emotion detected. This goal has reached the upper limit today. 2 strong emotions of relief were detected. Reward, 2 bronze treasure chests. Hear the system prompts in your mind. The corners of Crow's mouth raised slightly. After a while, 3 more treasure chests came. Only bronze and silver though. But it also proves the power of the system in disguise. Well Crow, you don't have a place to live yet, do you? If you don't mind, you can live in our house. We happen to have an empty room at home. I'm going to pack it out right now and I'll take you to buy some clothes later. Hermione will come with me to help. Without waiting for Crow's answer, Mrs. Granger pulled Hermione and hurried out of the room. Before leaving, I didn't forget to close the door. In an instant, only Mr. Crow and Mr. Granger were left staring in the room. She just has this kind of temperament, you don't need to pay too much attention to it. Mr. Granger scratched his head and sounded very endearing. Crow nodded awkwardly. Be alone with a grown man. The other person was Hermione's father. He also had plans for Hermione. This kind of embarrassment makes me want to take away the 3 bedrooms and 1 living room. Well, thank you very much for being friends with Hermione. You know, her personality is not very good, and besides. Mr. Granger hesitated to speak. He can't say that his daughter is abnormal. Strange things often happen to her, right? Let's not talk about whether Crow believes it or not. That's true belief. What if the rest of Crow is scared too? Then Hermione has to hate him for the rest of her life? It doesn't matter. I think Hermione's character is very cute. I'm very happy to be friends with her. You also provided me with a place to live. I will definitely repay this favor in the future. Let you have 2 grandsons soon. Crow said a few words from the bottom of his heart. Hermione is a rare treasure girl. If you give her up to Ronald for nothing, then you might as well find a place to hang yourself. There is no such thing as kindness. Just be friends with Hermione. She can be very arrogant sometimes, so you may have to tolerate it a little bit. You just woke up from a coma. You must still be feeling uncomfortable, right? Go back and sleep for a while. I'll help them pack their things. Mr. Granger patted Crow's shoulder happily. A good boy who knows how to repay kindness. He will definitely get along well with Hermione. This way he can rest assured and be with his wife. It's a world of 2. Crow lay back leisurely on the bed. Originally, he was still thinking about how to get closer to Hermione, a treasure girl. He didn't expect the Grangers to let him live here. This is simply. There is no way to repay a great kindness. 10 years later, I will repay this great kindness with 2 cubs. The system opened all 3 boxes for me. The old rule is bronze first and then silver. Crow's eyes looked expectant. It's time for the exciting unboxing session again. Congratulations to the host for opening the bronze treasure chest and receiving the reward, Junior Culinary Proficiency. Congratulations to the host for opening the bronze treasure chest and receiving the reward, Junior Dental Proficiency. Chapter 6. Good at cooking? Dental Proficiency? After absorbing the information pouring into your mind, Crow's eyes flickered slightly. Culinary mastery should be unlocked from the treasure chest contributed by Mrs. Granger. Dental mastery should be opened from the treasure chest contributed by Mr. Granger. Combined with the wizard profession that was previously given by Hermione, Crow can roughly deduce. The rewards given out in the treasure chest are related to the person who contributed the treasure chest. In this case, in the future, if you are missing something, just go to the corresponding person to get the treasure chest. If you are short of spells, farm wizards. If you are short of money, farm wealthy businessmen. If you need a wife, go there. It's better than nothing, keep the system on. The anticipation in Crow's eyes did not diminish at all. I don't know who contributed this treasure chest. If something from the wizarding world is released, it means that the contributor is a wizard. If it comes from the normal world, it means the contributor is a muggle. But he has not entered the wizarding world now. He wouldn't be so naive. His extraordinary talents attracted the wizard's attention. If he really opened something out of the wizarding world, who would pay attention to him? Why focus on yourself? Congratulations to the host for opening the silver treasure chest and receiving the reward, Junior Transformation Talent. Elementary Transfiguration Talent, easier to understand and practice transfiguration. Crow's eyes narrowed. You can probably guess who contributed the treasure chest. So I should have my admission notice. Otherwise, she wouldn't know my name and even donated a treasure box to me. Originally, I was thinking about swiping Hermione's body to see if I could get the admission letter to Hogwarts. It seems that after I obtained the wizard profession, the two artifacts in Hogwarts detected my magic power, and McGonagall knew my name. Crow lay on the bed looking thoughtful. The wizarding world is indeed a good place to farm treasure chests. Especially Hogwarts. There the wizards gathered. Most are still children. Mood swings are greater. Easier to get treasure chests. And there's Pansy, Luna. He is not lustful. I just want to form a treasure chest farming team. Crow defended himself a few words in his mind. Crow, the room is ready for you, come on. We'll go shopping for clothes later. Yours are too big now. They look like a short skirt on you. I know a great clothing store. You must like the clothes there very much. Where do I buy most of my clothes? You don't know. Hermione pulled Crow and ran out the door. He spoke as if talking to himself along the way. At this moment, she seemed to have endless words to say. Wanted to share everything I knew with Crow. Crow listened to her chatter quietly. He didn't feel irritated. On the contrary, I felt very happy. Children are willing to share what they know with you. This shows that she has accepted you as her friend. Plus Hermione hasn't had many friends for a long time. Only when she has a friend like herself will she have endless things to talk about. Hermione, if you talk endlessly, you will be disliked. You can't do this. Hermione heard the reprimand. Somewhat aggrieved, he lowered his head and said nothing. She didn't know what was wrong with herself. I just want to share what I know with Crow. After all, Crow was her only friend. Good friends should share, right? Sorry Crow, Hermione just. Mrs. Granger looked at Crow apologetically. Before she could finish her words, she was interrupted by Crow. It's okay ma'am, I love hearing what Hermione said, and no one has ever shared these secrets with me. You know the feeling of being accepted, it's good, it's good. Crow smiled and shook his head. Joke. Now listen to Hermione talk a little more. Nothing will happen to Ronald from now on. You're still playing in the mud. I've already started flirting with Hermione in advance. Roll you to death. The room is a warm light blue room. There is a large comfortable bed inside. There is also a small desk next to the bed. The bed is covered with sheets with baby dinosaurs printed on them. The entire room has been cleaned spotlessly. The windows are also open to circulate fresh air. Looks bright and neat. How's it going? I made the sheets and quilts. Of course, my mother helps, and my father cleans them. But I chose the style of the bed sheets. Let me tell you secretly, they were bought for me, but I don't like them. I prefer kittens. Only boys like little dinosaurs. Hermione leaned into Crow's ear and whispered the secret loudly. Mr. and Mrs. Granger shook their heads in amusement. Tell it clearly but secretly. The sound did not decrease at all. Even if they don't want to hear it, they can hear it clearly. The helpless couple could only turn their heads and pretend not to hear anything. The couple took a special leave in the afternoon. A lot of clothes were bought for Crow and Hermione. Night. Crow lay on the bed looking out the window at the night sky. 500 gold galleons is a lot of money, it should be enough for Hermione and I. The admission notice for Hogwarts should be in these 2 days. What would Hermione's reaction be if she knew that she and I were both wizards and would enter Hogwarts at the same time as her? You should be very excited to be able to explode a treasure chest of high quality, right? Crow thought for a while and then started fighting. My nerves were tense for 3 days. After relaxing suddenly, fatigue came over me like a tide. It only took a moment for him to fall asleep. Chapter 7. Early morning. Come and have a taste. Today's breakfast was prepared by Crow. I just gave him a slap on the wrist. I didn't expect Crow to be able to cook. I really couldn't tell he was a 10-year-old kid. Well, it's delicious. His cooking skills are already on par with yours. When I was in the orphanage, I often helped Mrs. Weir cook. Over time, I got better at it, but I definitely can't cook as well as Mrs. Granger. No, I think your cooking tastes better than Mom's. 2 happy emotions detected. Reward, 2 bronze treasure chests. Hermione's words made Crow rub his nose helplessly. I am trying to please my future mother-in-law. The default wife is causing trouble. But judging from the emotion of getting the treasure chest, Mr. and Mrs. Granger were not angry at Hermione's words. The Grangers looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. It's true that women are not allowed to stay in college. Hermione had only known Crow for how long? So biased towards him. Mr. Granger bit his bread and looked out the window. I want to ease my mood. But just one look made him put down the bread in surprise. Hey? That's a fat Scottish round-faced chicken. What nonsense are you talking about? One may be a fat chicken with a round face, but the other is definitely not. That face is obviously not round. Looking out the window at the 2 owls, the Grangers began to argue. 2 messenger owls, are you polite? Crow and Hermione heard the argument. They all turned back to look out the window. Crow's eyes flashed with anticipation. If you guessed correctly, this is the owl that has come to deliver the admission notice. Really, these 2 are owls, okay? Have you ever seen a chicken fly? Hermione rolled her eyes helplessly. Hey? Are they carrying letters on their paws? Are owls delivering letters? Are they imitating the flying pigeons from the east to deliver letters? Don't worry about those, just put them in first. It seems like this letter should be for us. Hermione gasped in surprise. Put down the bread and go to the window and open it. Put 2 owls with dead fish eyes into the house. The owl that put down the letter flapped its wings a few times and flew out of the window. Before leaving, I didn't forget to give my own little gift. Thanks to Mr. and Mrs. Granger for the compliment. Don't let me see these 2 fat chickens with round faces again, otherwise they will definitely be roast chickens on our Christmas dinner plate. Mr. Granger cursed and cleaned up the answers left by the 2 owls. After cleaning up, a few people gathered together to look at the 2 letters. What kind of emblem is this? A lion, a badger, an eagle, a snake. Hermione Granger, is this a letter for Hermione? That other one? Is it also for Hermione? Crow, Wells, this letter is for Crow. Mr. and Mrs. Granger looked at each other. Both of them were a little curious. This letter seemed to have been sent from the same place. Just who would write a letter to 2 10-year-olds? Although I am very curious. But they still put the letter in Hermione and Crow's hands. Look at the shield-shaped school emblem composed of 4 animals. Crow couldn't help but feel a little excited. Who hasn't longed to receive an admission letter to Hogwarts as a child in a previous life? This is not a toy yet. It's a real Hogwarts admissions letter. Hogwarts admission notice? Do we have this school here? The way of sending admission notice is so magical. Hermione frowned in confusion. Mr. and Mrs. Granger looked at each other. Wouldn't you know if you open it and take a look? Maybe it's a good college. You and Crow will receive the notice together, so you don't have to separate. Hermione heard this and glanced at Crow secretly. Seeing his somewhat excited expression, her little face immediately turned red. Crow, are you excited to go to school with me? Strong shyness detected. Get reward, golden treasure chest. The system prompts Crow to take his eyes away from the notice. Looking at Hermione's shy look, Crow couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Treasure girl is trying to conquer herself? You really don't need to do everything from treasures to guides yourself? Good review. Dear Ms. Granger, we are pleased to inform you that you have been admitted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Attached is a list of required books and equipment. The semester is scheduled to start on September 1st. Please inform us of your reply before July 31st. Enrollment starts on September 1st. Please go to Diagon Alley to buy school supplies before enrolling. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry Headmaster, Albus Dumbledore Vice Principal, Minerva McGonagall. Several people looked at each other in shock after reading the admission notice. Mr. and Mrs. Granger looked at each other with a slight twinkle in their eyes. They have long noticed that their daughter is different from ordinary people. He can often do some strange things. Science simply cannot explain those magical things. If you use magic to explain it, everything will make sense. Hermione frowned and pulled out her shopping list. Books, standard spells, elementary, history of magic, magic potions and potions, a wand, a quill, a sorting hat. What are all these things? Why haven't I heard of these books? Where is Diagon Alley? Is there such a place? Hermione looked at her parents confused. The Granger couple spread their hands and said they didn't know. Chapter 8. Didn't the letter say that a professor from the academy would lead us to Diagon Alley? We'll all know by then. Let's have breakfast first. Maybe it's just a prank. After all, this kind of thing is very common. Crow's words made several people sit back at the dinner table. Hermione clutched her admission letter tightly. There is some expectation in my heart. If this is true, doesn't that mean she is a witch? Crow is also a wizard? Can two people enroll in the same school? Hermione pursed her lips and ate her breakfast absent-mindedly. The Grangers were just as distracted as Hermione. They also want to know if this is true. Is their baby daughter the legendary wizard? Dingling, dinging, I'll open the door. Crow was about to get up and open the door. Hermione dropped the bread and ran towards the door in a hurry. Crow shook his head helplessly. He knew what Hermione and the others were thinking. If he hadn't already known that this was Happy's world, I'm afraid he will be as doubtful as the three of them. But he was not prepared to explain to the three of them. Let's not talk about whether the three of them believe his explanation. That's true belief. How would he explain why he knew things about the wizarding world? You can't say that you are a time traveler, right? Who are you? Hermione looked at the dark green robe in front of her in confusion. A tall woman wearing a black pointed hat. Miss Hermione Granger? I am Minerva McGonagall, a professor at Hogwarts. You can call me Professor McGonagall. You should have received the admission notice, right? After all, I'm here based on my time. Professor McGonagall looked at Hermione in front of him, nodding with satisfaction. She had understood. Hermione is a diligent and studious student. No teacher doesn't like diligent and studious students. She is no exception. Hogwarts house professor? Is that magic real? Oh, sorry, you know that's really hard to believe. Mr. Granger had just finished speaking. He was glared at by Mrs. Granger angrily. He turned around and invited McGonagall into his home with a smile on his face. Professor McGonagall, please come in. We are having breakfast. Do you want to join us? Today's breakfast is made by Crow. It tastes very delicious. You should like it. Crow stood aside and looked at Professor McGonagall curiously. This is him except Hermione's family. Meeting the original character for the first time. She also contributed a silver treasure chest to herself. The treasure chest also contains the primary transfiguration talent. Thank you both for your kindness, but I already had breakfast before coming here. Professor McGonagall smiled and nodded at the two of them. He turned to look at Crow and Hermione who were standing together looking at him curiously. Crow Wells? You are a very lucky child. If your magical riot had been delayed, you might not have been able to enroll in Hogwarts this year. The purpose of my visit this time is to take you to Diagon Alley to purchase items for the start of school. Are you ready? When we are, we will set off. Crow didn't speak. He just held Hermione's little hand silently. Now I look like a 10-year-old child. If you say too much, it is very likely that Professor McGonagall will notice something strange. After all, this is Dumbledore's right-hand man. Still a very powerful wizard. Give yourself a dose of legilimency. Then wouldn't all his secrets be exposed to her eyes? Think of this. Crow's heart sank. It seems necessary to go to Snape to brush up on occlumency. Otherwise, the secret of being a time traveler will be easily exposed. After all, not everyone is like Dumbledore. Don't use legilimency on people easily. Sorry Professor McGonagall, we can't let you take away 2 children. Please forgive us for being cautious as parents. We are not sure whether your so-called magic is real and whether the school is real. The Grangers stood in front of Hermione and Crow. He looked at Professor McGonagall with a serious face. Hermione stuck her head out and looked at Professor McGonagall expectantly. She really wanted magic and Hogwarts to be real. That way he will not only become a legendary wizard. You can also enroll in school with your only friend Crow. It's hard for me to explain whether magic is real or fake, and you won't believe me if I explain it. Professor McGonagall sat calmly on the sofa. Her words made Mr. and Mrs. Granger's faces darken. I just wanted to kick her out of the house. Professor McGonagall stood up. Under the gaze of 4 people, he transformed into a tabby cat. Jump onto the high table. Is this magic? It turns out magic really exists. Then Crow and I are wizards? This is really so cool. Hermione excitedly pulled Crow and ran to the table. He looked at the tabby cat on the table curiously. Mr. and Mrs. Granger also came to the table. Watching Teacher McGonagall transform into a tabby cat, Crow's eyes flashed. This was the first time he had seen the magic of magic. Still an animagus. Professor McGonagall jumped off the table. Become human again. Nothing is more real than seeing it with your own eyes, isn't it? If you are still not convinced, you can follow us to Diagon Alley. It just so happens that you can see what kind of world your children will live in the future. Chapter 9. Diagon Alley. Professor McGonagall appeared out of thin air with 4 people. Ugh, is this the way it is in your magical world? It's like being thrown into a drum washing machine and tossed back and forth, and finally thrown out violently. The Grangers held their hands against the wall and retched. Crow and Hermione also looked bad. That feeling just now. Real front-loading washing machine is no longer enough to describe it. You will definitely feel this way when you try to apparate for the first time. It would be nice to experience it a few more times. Professor McGonagall held the staff a little. It took a few people who were dizzy to recover. Crow, Hermione. This is Diagon Alley, which can be understood as the department store of the wizarding world. You can buy everything you want here. Wands, spellbooks, magical animals, and all kinds of magical plants can be bought as long as you have money. Of course, you can't buy anything illegal, otherwise the Ministry of Magic will punish you. Professor McGonagall paused. I saw that the 4 of them were listening attentively. Then he continued to speak with satisfaction. The wizarding world has its own currency, and pounds do not circulate here. You can exchange currency at the rate of 5 pounds to 1 gold galleons in Gringotts. New students at Hogwarts can exchange for 100 gold galleons, and each year thereafter can exchange for 60 gold galleons. But you don't need that many gold galleons to buy school supplies, so you don't need to exchange too much. Anything else you want to ask? Professor McGonagall looked at the 4 of them with a smile. Mr. and Mrs. Granger looked at each other. Although they are all dentists, they belong to middle-class families. But the exchange ratio is 5 to 1. But it's not something they can afford. Now they can only hope. As Professor McGonagall said, it doesn't cost much anymore to buy things for studying. Otherwise, Professor McGonagall, how will we come here again in the future? Do we have to use the same method just now? Hermione looked curiously at the red brick walls around her. She didn't find any portal to get in here. I forgot to tell you, behind this wall is the Leaky Cauldron, the passage connecting the wizarding world and the Muggle world. In the future you can enter the Leaky Cauldron, and then enter here from the Leaky Cauldron. See that trash can? Professor McGonagall pointed his wand at the trash can in the corner. The 4 of them looked sideways. Even Crow is no exception. Although I know the way to enter Diagon Alley. But the original novel doesn't seem to say what to do when going out. Count 3 bricks upward from this trash can, then count 2 bricks sideways, tap this brick with your wand, and the passage will open. The way to get in is the same as this. There is also a trash can on the other side. Find this brick to open the passage. Professor McGonagall retracted his wand and looked at the people. Hermione and the 3 of them curiously groped the seemingly ordinary wall. They really don't understand. How does this fixed wall open the passage? Can it still be dismantled and reorganized? But they didn't ask any more questions. This is a magical world after all. It cannot be measured by common sense. Crow also nodded understandingly. Then he secretly looked at Professor McGonagall. This is a great magician. Even if the entire wizarding world is ranked high. A silver treasure chest gave me the talent for transformation. If it were a more advanced treasure chest. Crow was led away absent-mindedly by Hermione. No matter what, I have to get out McGonagall's 3 treasure chests today. After all, Professor McGonagall is one of the few animagus. If it can be brushed out, that would be a real profit. Hermione looked around at the shops curiously. From time to time, I even ask Crow to share it. Pedestrians on the road meet Professor McGonagall. They all greeted her cordially. Professor McGonagall, are you bringing someone new to buy something again? Well, 2 great kids. Professor McGonagall responded with a smile. Hermione couldn't help but raise her head proudly when she heard the compliment. She is recognized as a top student. Kroll looked around, looking for something to help stir up Professor McGonagall's emotions. There are many strange things along the way. A moment of effort. Even he himself was attracted by the new things. Especially when passing by the Ela Owl store. Crow paused. What's wrong with Crow? Are these round-faced owls? Wow! And there are such cute kittens. Hey! Why are there ugly toads? Hermione covered her mouth in surprise. Drag Crow and run to the door of the store. I looked excitedly at the various owls and cats inside. And all kinds of ugly leprous toads. Toad, you really have a clear distinction between love and hate. Do you like it? The Academy allows owls, cats, and toads. And I think you might need an owl. Because it can help deliver letters and is a great companion. Professor McGonagall looked at the 2 little ones in amusement. Such a look of surprise. Reminds her of when she first arrived here. So amazed and excited too. Can we really bring them? Then, but we don't have gold galleons, so I'm afraid we won't be able to buy them. Hermione lowered her head in despair. Mr. and Mrs. Granger looked at each other. The 2 made their decision without much hesitation. Isn't the money they make going to Hermione? No matter how expensive it is. As long as Hermione liked it. They are willing to buy it too. Chapter 10. Ela Owl Shop. Welcome to the Owl Shop, please. Oh. Professor McGonagall, long time no see, nice to meet you. Angeloy walked out of the store. Just wanted to pitch to Crow and Hermione. Then he saw Professor McGonagall standing aside. Angeloy greeted happily. Long time no see, Mr. Angeloy. Professor McGonagall smiled and nodded. Are these 2 little guys new this year? Do you want to come in and take a look? Owls are good friends of wizards. Angeloy smiled. Is that okay? We don't have gold galleons, so I'm afraid we can't buy them. Hermione asked timidly. It's okay, you can come in and have a look if you like. Hear the answer. Hermione looked at the Grangers again with questioning eyes. See them nodding. She excitedly pulled Crow and ran into the store. Thank you, Mr. Angeloy. The 2 of them didn't forget to say thank you before entering. They are 2 very cute children, aren't they? Come in, you 3. Angeloy made the request in hand. Thank you, Mr. Angeloy, for the invitation. Professor McGonagall smiled and thanked him. Thank you, sir. The Granger couple also quickly thanked them. You're welcome. Angeloy smiled and nodded in response. In the owl shop. Wow. Crow, look, I recognize that's an eagle owl, that's a snowy owl, I've seen it in the animal encyclopedia. Oh, their feathers are so beautiful. Hermione dragged Crow and looked excitedly at the listless owls. Owls are nocturnal animals. Daytime is when they sleep. The owls who were awakened stared with dead fish eyes. He looked helplessly at the 2 little ones below. Just came 2. Now 2 more. Are you still letting the owl sleep? Crow also looked at each owl curiously. This was his second experience with owls. The first time I saw them was the 2 who left them a parting gift in the morning. Owls can not only deliver letters and transport things, but they are also very reliable partners. When wizards are in danger, they will risk their lives to protect them. Angeloy introduced the 2 with a smile. Although I know they don't have gold galleons. But that didn't stop him from introducing the 2 of them. After all, they came with Professor McGonagall. And just because there's no galleons now doesn't mean there won't be in the future. No? At the round table. Mr. and Mrs. Granger and Professor McGonagall looked at the two in amusement. Do you two want tea? Black tea or pumpkin juice? Hey? Just black tea. Professor McGonagall tapped his staff lightly. Several exquisite cups and a steaming teapot appeared out of thin air. Tilt the teapot and fill several cups with black tea. Then in the shocked eyes of Mr. and Mrs. Granger, the teacup landed smoothly on the table in front of them. The three of them sipped black tea, quietly watching the two little ones curiously groping around. Crow stared at an eagle owl in the distance that was much larger than the other owls. This white-gray eagle owl is more than 80 centimeters tall. Compared with other eagle owls that are 60 to 70 centimeters tall, it looks like a whole head. The eagle owl also noticed Crow's gaze. Open your eyes and look at Crow. The yellow round pupils were extremely cold. Not at all docile and listless like other owls. On the contrary, it has a wild feeling. Angeloy noticed the way Crow looked at the eagle owl. Seeing that he wanted to step forward and get closer to the eagle owl, he quickly ran forward to stop him. This eagle owl is not a friendly guy. It has been in our store for 3 months, but it has not been successfully tamed. Don't get too close, or she will attack you. This is also the reason why I kept her in an iron cage. I was afraid that she would be wild and untamed and hurt people. Angeloy looked helplessly at the huge eagle owl. This guy is big, eats a lot, and attacks me from time to time. I have a headache as to what to do with her. If she is not tamed after a while, I will have to release her back into the wild. You also know that I cannot sell untamed owls to new students, because that is very dangerous. Angeloy's explanation immediately attracted the attention of everyone in the store. Not only Professor Hermione McGonagall. There was also a man and a woman in gorgeous clothes in front of the cattery. How dare you show off when you haven't been tamed? If you hurt the noble Malfoy and can your little shop afford it? Malfoy raised his head and scolded haughtily. While speaking, he did not forget to secretly observe the expression of the girl next to him. Seeing her emerald pupils looking a little angry. If you hurt us, believe it or not, I will make it impossible for you to drive in Diagon Alley. Malfoy suddenly felt happy. The scolding voices became louder and louder. Master Malfoy is really sorry about this. Upon hearing this, Angeloy hurried forward. He apologized to Malfoy with a bitter look on his face. This is the eldest son of the Malfoy family, one of the 28 pure-blood families. If he offends him, this shop will probably be doomed. Obviously this eagle owl is in a cage, why does he say that? Is there no royal law in the wizarding world? This is too much. Hermione crossed her arms. He looked at Malfoy angrily. She couldn't stand these unreasonable things. This guy uses his status to bully others. Where's the muggle? I'm talking to Angeloy, is it your turn to interrupt? Malfoy gave Hermione a disdainful glance. Chapter 11. Mr. and Mrs. Granger were about to get up but were blocked by Professor McGonagall. Professor McGonagall shook his head. He motioned to the two of them to continue reading. Looking at the girl next to Malfoy, Professor McGonagall's eyes flashed. Are you a member of that family? But why was she with Malfoy? Hermione was about to continue her rant but was blocked by Crow. She looked at Crow confused. I don't understand why he is stopping me. Is it possible that he is also afraid of this Master Malfoy? Just when Hermione was a little disappointed. But he saw Crow taking a step forward to block him behind him. I don't know what Malfoy is, and I don't want to know. But I know your family is probably very uneducated. Maybe your parents are very uneducated, otherwise they wouldn't be able to teach you a character like this. You think you are very noble, but in fact, in the eyes of others, you are just a ridiculous clown. The status of the monkeys in the zoo is comparable to yours. Crow's cold words echoed in the store. Several people, including Professor McGonagall, were stunned on the spot. This is the first time anyone has said it. The Malfoys are the monkeys that everyone admires. This is no longer a slap in the face of the Malfoy family. Instead, they were pressing their faces to the ground and rubbing them. The kind that still stomps on both feet. Two strong emotions of shock were detected. Get rewards, diamond treasure chest, gold treasure chest. Strong happy emotion detected. Get reward, golden treasure chest. Strong anger detected. Get reward, golden treasure chest. Two happy emotions detected. Reward, 2 bronze treasure chests. A series of prompts echoed in Crow's mind. But he didn't care. He just stared at Malfoy indifferently. If Malfoy provokes others, he might not care. But he had a conflict with Hermione. This made it impossible for him not to take action. What Malfoy family? What 28 pure bloods? Is it important to have your own treasure, girl? Do you know who you are insulting? Damn muggles! Today I will let you know what Malfoy is. Dole, let him know what regret is. Malfoy glared at Crow. I obey, little master. Dole will definitely make this person pay the price for insulting the Malfoy family. An ugly-looking elf in tattered clothes appeared next to Malfoy. He pointed a bony finger at Crow. Shattered to pieces. A slightly hoarse and cold voice sounded. A grey light shot out from between his sharp fingers, rushing towards Crow at great speed. Crow, get out of the way! Hermione exclaimed. Although I don't know what the effect of the Shattered Bones curse is, but just by the name, you know it's not a good thing. She struggled to push Crow away. But he found that the thin Crow seemed to have grown up where he was. No matter how hard she pushed, Crow didn't move at all. Professor McGonagall and Angeloy saw this scene, just about to take action to block the blow. But Crow raised his hand. Levitation spell. A wooden board about 60 centimeters in the distance flew towards me at a high speed. Stand in front of Crow. Bump. The broken bones hit the wooden board. Beat the wooden board directly into a sky full of sawdust. Professor McGonagall and others opened their eyes in shock. 4 strong emotions of shock detected. Reward, 1 diamond treasure chest, 2 gold treasure chests, and 1 silver treasure chest. 2 strong emotions of shock detected. This goal has reached the upper limit today. Casting spells without a wand? How can you, a muggle, cast spells without a wand? An illusion, it must be an illusion. Malfoy exclaimed. Several people came back to their senses from the shock. The blonde girl put away her wand without leaving a trace, looking at Crow with interest. He's obviously a muggle. Not even a wizard. It is actually possible to cast spells without a wand. What a peculiar guy. Doll, you are a loser. If 2 muggles can't solve the problem, what's the use of raising you? Why are you standing there in a daze? Why don't you take action quickly? Malfoy scolded Dole angrily. I'm sorry, little master, Dole will go and deal with this muggle who insulted the noble Malfoy family right away. Turn into powder, Professor McGonagall. Dole trembled in fear. Then he tried to attack Crow again with the bone-crushing curse. But he was only halfway through his spell. Then he saw Professor McGonagall, who had appeared in front of Crow at some point. Dole immediately put away his magic in panic. He saluted Professor McGonagall with a hint of fear. McGonagall Minerva? How is that possible? There was no one there just now. I mean, Professor McGonagall, Malfoy's eyes widened in shock. After discovering that it was really Professor McGonagall, he was a little incoherent and wanted to explain. But he didn't know how to explain it. Professor McGonagall must have used some hidden magic just now. He didn't know how much the other party had seen. If you have witnessed the whole process, the explanation becomes feeble. Malfoy clenched his fists and glared at Dole. Dole also lowered his head in self-reproach. If only he had known Professor McGonagall was here. We'll definitely tell Malfoy. Malfoy would never do such a thing. Chapter 12. Professor McGonagall held the wand, standing in front of Crow and Hermione. The Grangers saw this. He also hurriedly ran to the 2 little ones. Check them up and down for injuries. What just happened almost scared them to death. That's magic. God knows what it will be capable of. Crow and Hermione cooperated with the inspection with warm hearts. Especially Crow. This is still in his 10 years. For the first time, I experienced family-like care. This made him determined. I must repay Mr. and Mrs. Granger well in the future. Let Hermione and I give birth to 2 more fat babies for them. Malfoy Draco, Lucius's son. Lucius taught you how to raise elves to attack people. Do you know what this is? You are going to be caught in Azkaban. Malfoy, do you know? Professor McGonagall shook his head with disappointment. Your mother and I are friends. I originally had great expectations for you, but your performance disappointed me. I will tell Narcissa and Lucius what will happen today. Let them decide what the details are. Malfoy's face paled when he heard this. Dole was also trembling with fear. Malfoy probably just got a scolding. And his fate may be. The two wanted to ask for mercy. But Professor McGonagall had already gotten past him. He greeted the blonde girl beside him cordially. Merlin's beard, it's nice to see you here, you know? I saw your name when I was writing the admission notice. I thought you wouldn't come to Hogwarts until I received your reply. I'm glad you can join Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Cassandra Worley. Hear Professor McGonagall's words. Crow was stunned when Hermione slapped sawdust on his body. Cassandra Worley? Is she from this period? Crow quickly turned around to look. He saw a girl wearing a green dress next to Professor McGonagall. Cassandra has emerald eyes. There is also a little black tear mole under the corner of the eye. A head of naturally curly blonde hair. Although with a smile on his face. But you can still feel the arrogance engraved in her bones. This kind of arrogance is not the same as Malfoy's arrogance of status. But a kind of arrogance from the heart. Just like the bookish spirit exuding from Hermione. Not only is it not annoying. On the contrary, it is more attractive to the eyes. By chance, Cassandra looked towards Crow at that moment. The two looked at each other. Crow nodded politely. Cassandra just chuckled and did not respond. He turned around and continued chatting with Professor McGonagall. Does it look good? Am I better looking or is she better looking? Hermione crossed her arms. Look at Crow and look at Cassandra. I couldn't help but feel angry and aggrieved. I was helping him clean up the sawdust. But he stared at others. This feeling of not being taken seriously. It reminded her of the time when she was ostracized by her peers. Hermione couldn't help but feel a little flustered. Afraid that Crow would stop being friends with Cassandra after meeting her. Her little hands grasped Crow's sleeve tightly. He raised his head and looked at Crow stubbornly. Strong emotion of grievance detected. Get reward, golden treasure chest. Crow was a bit dumbfounded. How much grievance does it take to break out the golden treasure chest? Opening a Shura field at such a young age? Beat me. Rejecting juvenile aesthetics starts with me. What a ghost. I just heard Professor McGonagall's words and took a look out of curiosity. I don't even know who she is. As for who is more beautiful. Crow leaned into Hermione's ear and whispered something softly. Cassandra, who had been secretly paying attention to the two of them, pricked her ears. But didn't hear anything. She is proud. From when Hermione asked. I really want to know Crow's answer. After all, I am good looking. Or is Hermione better looking? I wonder what Crow said. Hermione's face immediately turned red and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but raise. You are so bad. Who are you? Ignore you. Hermione hummed shyly. Turn around and run to the cattery. This made Cassandra, who didn't hear the answer, feel as if a kitten was scratching her heart. But it was hard for her to ask Crow directly for the answer. He could only pretend to be unaware and continue chatting with Professor McGonagall. Strong curiosity detected. Get reward, golden treasure chest. Crow smiled slightly. He knew Cassandra would be curious. That's why he deliberately leaned into Hermione's ear to tell the answer. Did not expect. This proud girl is so curious. I directly contributed a gold treasure chest to him. Looks like another treasure girl. The treasure girl group has one more target member. The needle doesn't poke. Luxurious manner. Boom. Lucius slapped the table angrily. Malfoy and Doyle were immediately frightened and trembling. What did you say? You were in front of Professor McGonagall, how did I teach you? Did you order the house elves to harm muggles? Or in front of Professor McGonagall? Lucius's angry roar echoed throughout the castle. Let the hard-working house elves PK up their ears. Doll, what do you do for a living? You don't know Malfoy, don't you still know Professor McGonagall? Why did you let him do such a thing? Lucius's roar was heard. The house elves trembled in fear. A skinny little house elf in rags holding a broom looked pale. The two big ears also hung down. He held the broom tightly in his scarred hands. His name is Dobby. Dole's son. Chapter 13. Okay Lucius, the child already knows that he was wrong. For Merlin's sake, don't be angry anymore. Narcissa hugged the shivering Malfoy distressedly. I didn't blame him for this incident. It was all because the Muggle insulted the Malfoy family first, that's why Malfoy ordered Dole to attack in anger. Malfoy, with tears streaming down his face, nodded in agreement. But Lucius glared at him angrily. He was so frightened that he shrank into his mother Narcissa's arms. He doesn't understand what he did wrong? Obviously he is protecting the honor of the Malfoy family. I'm afraid you shouldn't attack Muggles. But it won't make Lucius so angry, right? Maintaining the honor of the Malfoy family is something he has always taught himself. Now I have done it. Although in front of Professor McGonagall. Lucius, the more he thought about it, the more aggrieved Malfoy became. He couldn't help but huddled in Narcissa's arms and sobbed. Narcissa glared at Lucius angrily. He lowered his head and comforted Malfoy gently. This is not your fault, it's all. Lucius also looked at the mother and son guiltily. He knew that Malfoy wanted to preserve the family's honor. But in front of Professor McGonagall, he instructed the house elves to attack Muggles. This is a great crime. He and Narcissa had been Death Eaters. It has always been criticized by everyone. It has only improved slightly in the past few years. If this matter spreads again, I'm afraid public opinion will be one-sided and say that they led Malfoy astray. Even Malfoy is a Death Eater. This is something the couple definitely don't want to see happen. Lucius clenched his fists. While feeling guilty towards Malfoy, he also had murderous intentions towards Crow and Hermione. Without them, Malfoy wouldn't do these things. Strong hatred detected. Get a treasure chest, a golden treasure chest. Crow, who was counting the harvest, was stunned. I once again realized what it means. People are sitting at home, and a treasure chest comes from the sky. He thought for a moment. Then he understood that this treasure box was related to Malfoy, who had just left. It is possible that he went back to complain. The treasure chest that Lucius or Narcissa contributed to him. This made Crow a little excited and a little disappointed. They are obviously a couple. Why did you only contribute one treasure chest to him? Could it be that the other one was comforting Malfoy that he didn't have the energy to hate himself? Crow shook his head. He looked at his treasure chests with satisfaction. Him at this time already owned 2 diamond treasure chests, 8 golden treasure chests, a silver treasure chest, 4 bronze treasure chests. You know, only half a day has passed. And he hasn't officially entered the wizarding world yet. If admitted to Hogwarts, that treasure chest isn't. Crow, look. This big cat is so strange. Its face is actually flat. Hermione excitedly pulled Crow and ran to the cattery, pointing at the yellow Persian cat in the cage. The cat's face looks flat. It was as if it had hit something and was flattened. Fat and cute. Hermione's voice also attracted everyone's attention. Do you like this cat very much? I can give it to you. Crow can also choose a pet. Well, anyone is fine. I'll give it to you for free. Just think of it as a thank you gift. Angeloy spoke to the two of them gratefully. Without Crow and Hermione, he was probably still being scolded by Malfoy. It has even closed down. Now though Crow had offended Malfoy in his shop. But Professor McGonagall witnessed the whole process. Professor McGonagall is here. The Malfoy family would never attack him again. His shop was saved. Really? Thank you, Mr. Angeloy. I like this big cat very much and I will definitely treat her well in the future. After Hermione got a positive answer, he immediately picked up the chubby big cat excitedly. See this scene? Cassandra's beautiful eyes sparkled slightly. Hermione was competing with herself before. She didn't know what Crow's answer was. But look at Hermione's happy face. Most likely he chose Hermione over himself. This made the desire to win surge in her heart again. Mr. Angeloy, I also like this big cat, and I came here first. Logically speaking, you should sell the big cat to me. Her words instantly stiffened the joyful atmosphere. Hermione glared at Cassandra without any sign of weakness, holding the big cat tightly in his hands. So much strength. It even made the big cat roll his eyes. Big cat, I want to kill you for pleasure, can I? Crow looked at this scene amused. He guessed what Cassandra was thinking. It's just that I feel unconvinced. Wanted to prove that he was stronger than Hermione. This made the corner of his mouth curl up. Another good idea came to my mind to clean the box. Sorry Miss Cassandra, I have promised to give this big cat to Miss Hermione. There are other cats in the store, do you think? Angeloy asked cautiously. No, I just like this big cat. I'm willing to pay 3 times the price for it. Cassandra tilted her head. looking at Hermione with a look of victory on her face. This. Miss Hermione, do you think you are choosing another cat? Angeloy looked at Hermione hesitantly. He is not looking for triple the price. 5 gold galleons tripled, wouldn't it only be 15? The reason for his hesitation was Cassandra's identity. Can go with Malfoy. I'm afraid he's also a pure blood. Noble. Chapter 14. Mr. Angeloy, I want this big cat. There is no way I will give up the big cat to her. Hermione glared at Cassandra. Angeloy looked at the Grangers with pleading eyes. But the two just shook their heads helplessly. Such is Hermione's character. You asked her if it was okay in a nice voice. But if you want to grab it, you can't. Professor McGonagall sat down at the table amusedly. Maybe Hermione and Cassandra would become good friends. After all, they are very smart children. Miss Cassandra, right? Although you arrived first, you didn't buy it, so your first come, first served rule is not valid. We fell in love with this big cat first, and you only wanted to buy it after we fell in love with the big cat. In this way, you are robbing us. I know you want to avenge your companions, but we are not at fault for these two things. If you are a smart person, you should be able to see it, right? Crow stood in front of Hermione, speaking with righteous words. Hermione also stuck her little head out with a look of approval. Cassandra's breath hitched upon hearing this. His expression instantly darkened. Who said I was going to avenge Malfoy? Merlin's beard, how stupid can someone think that he and I are companions? Cassandra had never been so speechless. She hadn't even said a few words to Malfoy. She and Malfoy are companions? Is there anything more outrageous than this? Strong anger detected. Get reward, golden treasure chest. Crow narrowed his eyes slightly. Almost 10 gold treasure chests. He is just unlucky. There should be a guarantee after 10 draws in a row. Not to mention the diamond treasure chest. Don't seek invincibility. But I want to get a full level gnawing melon. What's that expression on your face? You don't believe it, do you? I'm really crazy, I would explain so much to you. Cassandra looked at Crow's expression. I thought he didn't believe his words. Her anger suddenly soared. Strong anger detected. This goal has reached the upper limit today. She turned towards the door with a cold face. When passing Professor McGonagall, he didn't forget to say goodbye to her. A good tutor will help her never forget her etiquette even if she gets angry again. Professor McGonagall, I look forward to our next meeting with you. Also, it seems that for Merlin's sake, you must take this guy to have his brain and eyes checked. I think even if I give him a giant monster's brain, he'll be better than the one he has now. Cassandra said her goodbyes. Not forgetting to look back and give Crow, who is not as smart as the troll, a hard look. Bump. The sound of the door closing brought several people back to their senses. Why is this person like this? And that Malfoy from before, are all the children in the wizarding world so unreasonable? And what is a troll? It sounds so stupid. Is she saying Crow is not smart? How could this be? Crow did nothing wrong. Hermione stamped her feet angrily. Although I don't know what a troll is. But you can guess from the name that he is not a smart guy. I'm not even angry. Why are you angry? Could it be that you really want to be my child bride? Crow leaned into Hermione's ear and spoke softly. The warm breath made the delicate ears tremble uncontrollably. Hermione's pretty face turned red instantly. Red all the way from cheeks to ears. The whole person looks like a cooked shrimp. I spoke for you, but you made fun of me, hey. Ignore you. Hermione gave Crow a hard look. He ran towards Mr. and Mrs. Granger holding the big cat with tears streaming down his face. Big cat, I don't want to talk anymore, just give me a good time. Looking at Hermione's panicked steps. Crow smiled and shook his head. He wasn't trying to tease Hermione. Just trying to divert her attention elsewhere. Obviously. This method is very useful. Mr. Crow, have you found an animal you like? If not, how about an owl? Look at this snowy owl, it's smart and capable, and its feathers are very beautiful. Oh, this is a perfect snowy owl. Angeloy pointed to a snowy owl with white feathers and recommended it to Crow. The listless snowy owl also spread its wings in cooperation. So Crow can see clearly. Well, this snowy owl is very good, very cool, the feathers are very bright, and the eyes are bright. Crow praised without hesitation. Angeloy nodded in agreement. You decide you want this snow. So I want that eagle owl. Aren't you still worried about how to deal with her? I happen to like her very much, so just let her go with me. Oh, of course, I might have to ask Mr. Angeloy to prepare a cage for me, otherwise my small body may not be able to withstand her attack. Crow waved his hand to interrupt Angeloy, pointing to the huge eagle owl that is eating melons in the distance. Eagle owl. He spoke with a smile on his face. Snowy owl is good. So I want the eagle owl. Strong speechless emotion detected. Get reward, silver treasure chest. Look at the silver treasure chest in the system. The smile on Crow's face deepened. This feeling of brushing a treasure chest. Cool. It's definitely not about watching other people's blood pressure soar. It feels good to have nothing to do with myself. Absolute. The corners of Angeloy's mouth twitched a few times. Has Mr. Crow really made up his mind? That eagle owl is really, well, I will prepare a large and sturdy iron cage and give you some owl feed. If you really can't tame her, you can send her back, but please be sure to pay attention to safety and don't let her out of the cage easily. Crow looked determined. Plus this eagle owl is a real nuisance. Angeloy could only wave his wand, stuffing the white-eyed eagle owl into the iron cage. After locking up the eagle owl, the iron cage slowly floated down in front of Crow. One person, one bird, and four eyes face each other. The eagle owl rolled its eyes humanely. He struggled to turn around in the somewhat cramped cage, pushing his against Crow. Crow shook his head in amusement and pity. It's funny because of the eagle owl's reaction. Unfortunately, the system cannot obtain treasure chests through animals. Otherwise, this eagle owl will definitely contribute a lot of treasure chests to itself. Chapter 15. Gringotts. Is this gold galleons? It doesn't look like pure gold. Why is the exchange rate so high? That's because the role of the British pound in the wizarding world is not as good as waste paper. The reason why the British pound can be exchanged for gold galleons is also to attract new students from the Muggle world. Listen to Professor McGonagall's explanation. Everyone nodded in understanding. Are the faces of those guys just now so ugly? Oh God, if I were one of those guys, exchanging gold galleons for waste paper, I'd probably be PD to death. Fortunately, we are the one who takes the waste paper and returns the gold galleons. Ha ha ha, 1 second I thought I was losing money to death. The next second I realized I had earned my death. Combined with the ugly expressions on the fairies' faces, Mr. Granger couldn't help but laugh. Crow is a little pity. This group of goblins actually didn't contribute a treasure chest to themselves. Right. Their resentment was not caused by themselves. Otherwise, according to the character of the goblin, wealth is as important as life. Likely to explode diamonds. No. King's treasure chest. Professor McGonagall, are we going to buy books next? Can you learn magic from books? Are there any spells like Crow used? Can I cast spells without a wand? Oh, and there are wands. Can you buy them all here? Hermione looked at Professor McGonagall expectantly. She wanted to use magic like Crow. Crow can and she can't. It made her feel unbalanced. Oh, dear Miss Granger, spells need to be used under the guidance of a wand. Casting without a wand requires a high level of proficiency in spells. Professor McGonagall paused. After taking a deep look at Crow, he continued to speak. Although I don't know why Crow can cast spells without a wand, it is obvious that for young wizards, it is best to use a wand to cast spells. As for where to buy a wand, you have to turn around and look behind you. Hermione quickly turned her head when she heard this. A slightly shabby little shop comes into view. Ollivander, crafting exquisite wands since 382 years before the park. Doesn't that mean it's been 2,000 years ago? No wonder the store is small and shabby. Hermione covered her mouth in surprise. Then he couldn't wait to pull Crow and ran to the store. She wanted so badly to do magic like Crow. Sorry Professor McGonagall, Hermione was a bit rude. Oh, it doesn't matter. I like her curiosity about new things so that she can learn magic better. Professor McGonagall smiled and waved his hand. She had seen many children like Hermione who were curious about magic. Already used to it. In other words, a magician. If you are not even interested in wands, can he become a good magician? It's like men are not interested in beautiful women. How sad that would be. That man. He must be gay. The wand shop is small inside. Full of tall cabinets. There are hundreds of rectangular boxes on the cabinets. It was already covered in dust. Or rather the whole room was covered in dust. Ollivander heard the sound of the door opening. Poke your head out from behind the counter. Oh, Professor McGonagall, nice to meet you. Are these two children the new students this year? The two at the back should be their parents, right? Oh, it's such an honor to choose a wand for you. Ollivander is of slight stature. The grey hair is a mess. There was a serious look on his face. He has the feeling of an old scientific research professor. Long time no see, Garrick, please pick a suitable wand for these two children. They are all extremely smart children and will definitely make your wand shine. Professor McGonagall greeted with a smile. She often picks up new students to do their shopping. Nature was familiar to Ollivander. After all, every new student needs a wand. Ollivander is a master at making wands again. Let me see what kind of wand a little guy should use that would make Professor McGonagall praise him. Before you choose a wand, let me take your measurements so that you can find a wand that fits your grasp. Ollivander took out the measuring stick. Walked up to Crow and Hermione. Which one of you two comes first? Oh, actually it doesn't matter which one comes first. After all, it is the wand that chooses the wizard, not the wizard who chooses the wand. It doesn't matter who comes first and who comes last. Then Hermione, come first. Relax, I'll be behind you, nothing will happen. Crow comforted Hermione softly. Seeing that her nervous expression relaxed a little. Then he stepped aside and quietly watched Ollivander measuring the data for Hermione. In fact, he was very curious. Teenagers are the time when their bodies are growing. It may grow a lot in a year. Why would Ollivander waste so much strength data? Wouldn't a wand made for the body become inappropriate after a few years? Crow raised his lips. I thought of a good idea to farm treasure chests. I wonder what Ollivander, as a wand master, can bring to him? Ollivander, who was taking Hermione's measurements, shuddered. It was as if he was being targeted by someone with malicious intentions. He looked around and found nothing strange, so he lowered his head in confusion and continued recording data. Oh, Miss Granger, I already know what wand is right for you, wait a minute. Ollivander excitedly ran to the counter and rummaged around. Chapter 16. Oh, found it. It doesn't take a while. Ollivander ran to Hermione slightly excited. He held a grey-purple wand in his hand. Grapevine wood, unicorn hair, 10 inches long, perfect for a bright little wizard. Come and try waving, remember, just wave gently. Ollivander gave some careful instructions. Stepping aside and looking at Hermione expectantly. Hermione looked at the Grangers and Crow with questioning eyes. After getting their encouragement, she waved her wand slightly. A gentle breeze appeared. Before a few people could feel the breeze blowing on their faces, the breeze suddenly became violent. The dust in the store was blown up by the wind. Suddenly the whole shop was filled with dust. No. No, this wand is not for you. Let me look for it again. Ollivander took the wand. Shaking his head in a daze, he ran back to the counter. Hermione frowned. I felt a little nervous. Is it possible that I can't choose the right wand? Crow walked over to her and stood shoulder to shoulder with her. Didn't Mr. Ollivander say that the wand chooses the person, not the person choosing the wand? It won't always go smoothly the first time. Just try a few more times and it will be fine. Crow whispered some words of comfort. This is his treasure girl. Don't do it because of his appearance. Other deviations will be fine. Hermione suppressed her worry. The little hand was just holding Crow's sleeve. She didn't know if she could get the wand's approval. It's like she can't gain recognition from her peers. This made her extremely nervous. Mr. and Mrs. Granger looked at Crow comforting Hermione with relief. The two looked at each other and smiled. With Crow for company, they wouldn't have to worry too much about Hermione being in danger at Hogwarts. It's close. Grapevine is the right choice, unicorn hair is the wrong choice. Let me think about it, think about it. Ollivander kept rummaging for his wand. Talking to oneself in the mouth. Oh, right. This is it, this is definitely the best choice. The body of the staff is made of grapevine wood, and the core is made of dragon nerve. It is 10 inches long. It is suitable for diligent and intelligent little wizards, come and give it a try. Hermione took the wand carefully. Give it a tentative wave. A gorgeous flower blooms from the top of the wand. All of a sudden, the whole shop is filled with the refreshing fragrance of flowers. Merlin's beard, a match made in heaven, an absolute match made in heaven. You and this wand are perfect for each other. Ollivander exclaimed excitedly. To him. The wand is your own child. Find the right wizard for the wand. It's him who makes wands. The happiest time. Is this what it feels like to perform magic? It's really magical. My whole body feels warm, as if there's heat flowing through it. Hermione held the wand fondly. Just like before, he was unwilling to let go of the big cat. If not for Crow's persuasion, she would never agree to leave the big cat at the owl store. Cleaned. Ollivander took out his wand and waved it a few times. The dusty room suddenly became tidy. It's your turn, little one. Come on, let me see what kind of wand suits you. I will definitely find you a wand that perfectly matches you. You have to trust Ollivander's vision and experience. Ollivander picked up the measuring stick. Start recording Crow's physical data. Crow raised his arms in cooperation. If nothing unexpected happens, this wand will stay with him for a long time. And he was curious, too. What material will your wand be made of? Dragon? Phoenix? Unicorn? Thestrals? But before that, Mr. Ollivander, I have a question. I wonder if you can answer it. Crow tilted his head, pretending to be curious. Just ask, I know a lot. Even about that person, I don't know. Ollivander's voice paused. Then he pretended like nothing happened. Continue to measure Crow's body data. Hermione and the others looked at Crow curiously. Professor McGonagall looked satisfied. Children with a higher thirst for knowledge. The attainment of magic will be higher. Even a lot of magic was developed by people who were curious about knowledge. After all, only those who are curious will do experiments. Only if you do experiments will you get results. We are only 10 years old now. It is the time when we are growing. We may grow a lot in about half a year. You are measuring the data to configure the wand now. Will this wand still be available in 2 or 3 years? Ollivander and Professor McGonagall were stunned. Professor McGonagall silently put away the uneasy wand. She has a say in this issue. Strong defense-breaking emotions detected. Get reward, golden treasure chest. Strong speechless emotion detected. Get reward, silver treasure chest. This, I don't know how to answer this. I've already measured your data. I'll go find a suitable wand for you first. Ollivander put away the measuring stick. He ran back to the counter as if to escape. I thought Crow would ask something. As a result, I actually asked this. Should he answer? Do the measurements just make him look more professional? This little wizard is so cute. Chapter 17. Just a gold treasure chest? Is Professor McGonagall's last treasure chest just silver? Crow shook his head sadly. I originally thought I could get a diamond treasure chest or something. What made him even more regretful was Professor McGonagall's last treasure chest. It's just silver. Mr. Ollivander must have a reason for doing this. We just need to cooperate with Mr. Ollivander. Aren't you afraid that he won't give you a good wand when you ask him this? You are so stupid. Hermione moved closer to Crow and spoke. Although the voice was lowered deliberately after the words were spoken. But Ollivander and Professor McGonagall are not ordinary people. I still heard her words very clearly. Both of them were immediately dumbfounded. Ollivander couldn't look back now. Not looking back either. I could only search for my wand in silence. At the same time there is a bit of self-doubt. Do I really look like the old man who takes revenge on the little wizard? A strong feeling of helplessness is detected. Get reward, silver treasure chest. Crow raised an eyebrow. Hermione gave Hermione an odd look. This can no longer be described as a treasure girl. He is simply his wingman for farming treasure chests. Not only can you provide your own treasure chest, you can also help yourself to clean the treasure chest. Simply. Let me see, applewood, thunderbird feathers. No, it should be this one. Ollivander lowered his wand. Turning around, he picked up another wand on the side. Jump off the ladder and run to Crow. Pretending to be completely ignorant of what Hermione was saying. Smiling, he handed the wand to Crow. The body of the staff is made of ebony and the core is made of thunderbird feathers. It is suitable for brave and fearless little wizards. Come and try waving. Crow eagerly took the wand. This was the first time he had touched a real wand. Just hold the wand. A strange feeling spread throughout my body. It's as if there is an extra meridian. The magic power in the body rushes into the wand. Crow felt like he just had to wave a wand. You can release the magic power from the wand. He thought so and did so. A flick of the black wand. Bump. A muffled thunderous voice came. The counter in the distance instantly exploded into pieces. The wand in Crow's hand also exploded. Only half of it was still in his hand. Sorry Mr. Ollivander, I didn't know this was going to happen. Crow awkwardly handed the damaged wand to Ollivander. He really didn't expect it. Just activating the magic in the wand can cause such damage. No wonder stronger than Dumbledore Voldemort. A wand is required in combat. Crow, are you okay? Are you injured anywhere? Hermione and others were stunned. He quickly ran to Crow to check. After discovering that he was unharmed but his hair was a little messy. A few people breathed a sigh of relief. Recover as before. Professor McGonagall waved her wand. The broken counter was restored to its original appearance. It was as if nothing had happened. Don't be sorry, this is my problem, not yours. It seems that you and this wand are not suitable for each other. What a picky little guy, let me look for it again, wait a minute. Ollivander dropped the broken wand. He ran back to the counter and searched for the wand. It had been a long time since he'd met a young wizard who could destroy a wand when he tried it out. The last one was still. Ollivander shook his head to interrupt the random thoughts in his mind. He kept searching for various wands in his hands. Crow and the others also waited in silence. Hermione's face looked a little angry. In her opinion, the wand that exploded just now was because Ollivander deliberately found a bad wand for Crow. The purpose is to get revenge on Crow. She wanted to question Ollivander. He was stopped by Crow holding his hand. Joke. How can he still be unclear if others are unclear? There was nothing wrong with the wand just now. It's just his own problem. There was too much magic coming out. The wand burst because it couldn't bear it. Although I was touched that Hermione was so biased toward him. But this obviously doesn't allow her to confront Ollivander. Otherwise, they would have to go to the United States to find another wand master. And it's not his fault. Oh, found it. Let me see if this wand will suit our picky little guy. Ollivander screamed. He ran to Crow excitedly. He handed the dark black vine-like wand to Crow. The body of the staff is made of yew wood. It is very strong. The core of the staff is made of thestral hair. It is 11 inches long. I think it can withstand your magic power. Come on, try waving it again. It's okay. Feel free to wave it. Ollivander looked at Crow expectantly. Crow motioned with his eyes to the pouting Hermione to step back. Seeing her reluctantly retreating, Crow just took hold of the wand. A feeling of blood connection came from the wand. He couldn't resist waving his wand. A peculiar woody fragrance floated in the house. Several people felt refreshed after smelling the woody fragrance. Crow also narrowed his eyes in enjoyment. This feeling is like the magic in the body has been channeled. No more running around aimlessly. Instead, it flows regularly throughout the body. He felt the spell he was using now. At least 30% stronger than before. Oh, another perfect fit. Merlin's beard, today is awesome, awesome. Ollivander clapped his hands excitedly. You must take good care of your wands. They are not your tools, but your partners in fighting side by side. Ollivander warned the two of them with a serious expression. As a master wand maker, he hated people who damaged their wands carelessly. Of course, accidental damage does not count. Chapter 18. Exit Ollivander's wand shop. Hermione frowned and wiggled her fingers. The wand cost 14 gold galleons. The big cat and eagle owl cost nothing, but the cage and food cost 1 gold galleon. We exchanged a total of 50 gold galleons. If we go buy cauldrons and other things, there should be a lot left over. This way we can buy a lot of books. Hear her surprised tone. Everyone shook their heads in amusement. Professor McGonagall became more and more satisfied as he looked at Hermione. Such a studious student. The teacher wouldn't like it without that. If she enters the yard of eagles, Could be the next Ravenclaw. Certainly. It would be great if you could enter the Lion's Courtyard. Just when Professor McGonagall wanted to give a few compliments. When recommending some more books to Hermione. Hey? This is the fat Scottish round-faced chicken from the morning. I recognize it. Oh, God, I told you not to let me meet you again. Mr. Granger's roar. Let pedestrians on the road stop and watch. Otherwise I will, well, pretend I didn't say anything. Feeling the increasingly unkind looks from the people around him, Mr. Granger coughed awkwardly. Shut your mouth and step aside silently. After the owl delivers the letter in its talon to Professor McGonagall. Didn't leave in a hurry. Instead, he flapped his wings. In the stunned eyes of everyone. Flying over Mr. Granger's head. And gave him a parting gift. After doing this, the owl flapped its wings and flew into the distance. Owl, you are the fat Scottish round-faced chicken. Well. I'm sorry Mr. Granger, it may have eaten something bad and had a bit of diarrhea. Clean as new. Professor McGonagall waved her wand apologetically. The pimple in Mr. Granger's hair disappeared instantly. His stiff expression also relaxed slightly. It's okay, Professor McGonagall. I think it might be because it liked me so much that it left me a parting gift. In fact, this is the second time I have received a gift from it. Every gift is so unique. You don't have to apologize, I really like that round-faced owl, and it's not angry. Mr. Granger waved his hand quickly. Professor McGonagall smiled knowingly. She didn't delve too deeply into the topic. Instead, he turned to look at Hermione and Crow. I may have to leave early for some things. You can buy the remaining items according to the list. If you run into trouble, you can go to Mr. Angeloy. When you go back, you can take the road I told you, the road leading to the Leaky Cauldron, then walk out of the Leaky Cauldron and take the bus home. Oh, by the way, remember to take your pets with you when you leave. See you at Hogwarts. Professor McGonagall, see you at Hogwarts. After getting responses from the two people, Professor McGonagall turned and left. Just turned around. The smile disappeared from her face. His eyes also became sharp. What should we buy next? Books or cauldrons? Or check out those weird brooms? Let's go buy a book first. I'm very curious about what the magical world is like. I think we can find the answer somewhere. After deciding on the destination, a few people went straight to Flourish's and Blott's bookstore. As for why they knew about Flourish and Blott's bookstore, all because of the sign at the door. This is just like when you go shopping and look at the name of a store to know what is sold there. Hogwarts. Principal room. Dumbledore picked up a strange flavored bean. He looked at the magic book in his hand with interest. Fox stood quietly on a shelf nearby. The Sorting Hat was asleep on the bookcase. The entire principal's room was silent. There was only the sound of turning pages from time to time. Bump. Professor McGonagall pushed open the door angrily. Professor Dumbledore, I don't understand. What on earth do you want to do? That child obviously. Oh, Minerva, you're back. Don't be angry yet. Try some strange flavored beans. The one I just ate was strawberry flavored. It's so sweet. Professor McGonagall looked at Dumbledore with a smile on his face. The anger in his heart softened slightly. No, thank you. What do you want to do by sending me a message asking me to see the child? Didn't you already hand this matter over to Hagrid? Could it be that you don't trust Hagrid and want me to spy on him? Oh Professor Dumbledore, this is not something you would do. Professor McGonagall watched Dumbledore's reaction closely, wanting to find some different emotions on his face. But it's a pity. Dumbledore was smiling the whole time. It was as if he didn't hear her question. Professor McGonagall sat down in his chair frustrated. I can trust Hagrid with my life, how could I not trust him? I'm calling you back this time, just for other things. I need you to follow Hagrid secretly, watch him pick up the child, and then watch him send the child back. Oh, you know, I'm not asking you to look at Hagrid and the child, but to see if anyone is interested in them, such as... Dumbledore picked up a strange flavored bean and put it in his mouth. The gentle smile suddenly turned solid. Oh my god, it actually smells like snot. This strange flavored bean is really a magical thing. Are you sure you don't want one? Professor McGonagall glanced helplessly at the old naughty Dumbledore. You mean, let me go and see if someone is doing harm to that child? Are you guarding against that person? But he is not. There is a saying in the East that I like very much. Everything is possible. Just like this strange flavored bean, no one will know what it tastes like unless you eat it. Dumbledore smiled and ate another strange flavored bean. Well, grape flavor, it's great, isn't it? Professor McGonagall looked deeply at Dumbledore. Leave this to me. Chapter 19. Well, thank you for your hard work, Professor McGonagall. Oh, by the way, I remember you took the new students to Diagon Alley to buy school supplies today, right? How about the kid? I think he must be a very clever little wizard, hey? Professor McGonagall heard Dumbledore ask. Professor McGonagall couldn't help but smile in agreement. Those are two great children. Hermione is studious, active, and full of curiosity about magic. She will definitely have great achievements in magic in the future. Crow is relatively mature. I think this may be related to his life experience. He grew up in an orphanage, and he didn't even awaken to magic until a few days ago. Well, you know, if he had been a little later, he might not have been on the roster this year, so he's a very lucky kid. Professor McGonagall paused. His expression became serious. Dumbledore also put down the strange flavored beans in his hand when he saw this. Professor McGonagall showed such an expression. That means she has something important to say. That kid named Crow is strange? Did you know? He can cast spells without a wand. Although it's just the most basic floating spell, he can indeed cast spells without a wand. Dumbledore frowned. Professor McGonagall, please tell me in detail everything that happened today. Professor McGonagall didn't hesitate after hearing this. Start telling Dumbledore. We're at Mr. Angelo Sowell. Dumbledore's brows furrowed more and more as he listened. That was until Malfoy was heard ordering the house elves to attack Crow. The slightly cloudy eyes of this old man suddenly burst into light. But he did not interrupt Professor McGonagall. Just close your eyes and listen quietly. While feeling angry towards the Malfoy family, I also developed a strong curiosity about Crow. What kind of child would this be? I wonder if he can help that child complete the great mission of saving the world? Dumbledore unconsciously rubbed the strange flavored beans in his hand. Upon seeing this, Professor McGonagall silently exited the principal's office. Dumbledore was left alone to brood. Strong curiosity emotion detected. Get reward, golden treasure chest. Diagon Alley. Crow, who was looking to open the door to the leaky cauldron, was stunned. Hermione's and others' treasure chests should have reached their maximum limit. Where did this golden treasure chest come from? Could it be that Malfoy's parents reacted and replenished themselves? But shouldn't their emotion be anger? Why become curious? Before he could figure out the treasure chest that kind-hearted person brought to him, Hermione on the side couldn't wait any longer. Didn't find it. Let me do it. I remember everything Professor McGonagall said. First look for 3 bricks upwards, then 2 horizontally, and then tap them with the wand. Crow stepped aside in amusement. He no longer worries about who sent him the treasure box. No matter who sent it. It's not a bad thing, is it? He was playing with a small yellow bag in his hand. This is from Angeloy. A bag cast with the invisible shrinking charm. Although there is not much space inside. But it's more than enough room for what they bought. Found it. All it takes is a few taps with the wand. Hermione's somewhat excited voice came. Mr. and Mrs. Granger carried the big cat in a birdcage. He looked curiously at the ordinary red brick wall in front of him. Hermione tapped the red brick a few times. Boom! The red bricks began to shrink to both sides. In the blink of an eye, a doorway appeared for people to pass through. These really do turn heads. Oh God, is this magic? It's magic. Mr. Granger looked at the doorway in surprise. Time flies so fast, and our Hermione has become a wizard. Hermione, we are so proud of you. Mrs. Granger knelt down and looked at Hermione tenderly. Of course, the same goes for Crow, you are also our pride. Mother. Hermione fell into her arms with red eyes. Mrs. Granger also stroked her hair gently. Crow touched his nose sheepishly. Not sure she knew what she was thinking about Hermione. What expression would she have? But that's okay. He is bound to win the treasure girl. After all, who can refuse a beautiful girl who can contribute a treasure chest to him every day? Oh, I think we should go. We don't know how long this thing will last. I don't think anyone wants to experience what it's like to be stuck in a wall, right? Mr. Granger's words. It made several people laugh. Then a few people got up and walked through the doorway. Boom Crow, who was last, had just passed through the doorway. The stone bricks on the wall seemed to sense something. Start moving again and close it up. In the blink of an eye, the wall was restored to its ordinary appearance. It's amazing magic. Mr. Granger let out another shocked exclamation. Crow is a little pity. If this shock was caused by himself, at least it should be a silver treasure chest, right? As for what can be found in the treasure chest, is it important? It's free anyway. Go through the narrow aisle. Several people heard lively discussions. Have you heard? That lucky boy is going to Hogwarts this year. Really? Time flies so fast. In the blink of an eye, 10 years have passed since the incident that shocked the wizarding world. Do you know? When I heard the news, I was so excited. Merlin's beard was indescribable. Chapter 20. The Leaky Cauldron. Old Tom wiped his glass. Looking at the man pushing the door open, he quickly said hello warmly. Oh, Professor Quirrell, what would you like to drink? Hey Tom, just butter, beer, and wine. Butterbeer? It's indeed a good choice. You know, the butterbeer I have here is the purest, but are you sure you don't want a glass of aged citron? Forget it, just give me a cup of yellow butter and beer. Quirrell, who had just sat down, heard Tom's recommendation. He was so scared that he waved his hands repeatedly. Ganpu aged social wine. One of the most unpleasant drinks in the world. The Leaky Cauldron is for people to taste. He even promised to get 100 gold galleons for just one drink. But so far no one has had a pint. Enough to think about the power of aged mandarin oranges. That's a pity. Aged cappuccino is a good wine. I don't think anyone knows that. Tom shook his head sadly. Fill Professor Quirrell's glass with butterbeer. He just put the beer in front of Quirrell, who had his head lowered and worried. I saw Crow and the others pushing out the door. Look. It's two little wizards. Are you the new students at Hogwarts this year? I think you have bought what you need, right? I didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, it's already the entrance season again. Oh, by the way, let me introduce to you, this is Professor Quirrell, the teacher of the Defense Against the Dark Arts class at Hogwarts. Tom excitedly ran to Crow and the others. His words also attracted the attention of everyone in the bar. A worried Quirrell is no exception. Hearing Tom's introduction, he could only stand up helplessly. I'm very happy to meet you. He had a reserved smile on his face. As if humans and animals are harmless. It seems that Professor Quirrell is really happy to see us. After all, he has already used 2 of them. The Dark Lord we saw in the books before was definitely not a gentle person like Professor Quirrell. Hermione, do you think so? Crow blinked at Hermione a few times. Yes, Professor Quirrell is gentle and gentle. He is definitely not the Dark Lord. Hermione didn't know Crow's purpose though. But he still nodded cooperatively. Quirrell looked a little stiff after hearing this. Crow used to very. It was obvious that he was imitating his stuttering. But what Crow said later. But it frightened him. Although it seems like an unintentional statement. But the content of the words made him afraid. After all, Voldemort right on him. Strong anger detected. Get reward, golden treasure chest. Strong murderous intent detected. Get reward, golden treasure chest. Crow's eyes flashed. In 2 gold treasure chests. There is absolutely no contribution from the nose. Although it's not just a gold treasure chest. But he's still looking forward to what will come out of it. Voldemort is probably best at all kinds of dark spells, right? If you want to eat a big melon. Well, I have other things to do, so I'll go first. After saying this, he didn't wait for everyone's reaction. Quirrell then walked towards the direction Crow and the others came from. Crow looked at his back with some pity. That was Voldemort. No less than Dumbledore's presence. The probability of popping up a high-level treasure chest is absolutely ridiculously high. But he didn't dare to push too hard. The dog will jump over the wall when he is anxious. What's more, Voldemort is the Dark Lord. That's what he is. In fact, after all, he is still your senior. Well, you may not know that he was once a very talented student. It was only later, that he became the cautious person he is now. However, his attainments in magic are still very high, otherwise he would not be a teacher in the Defense Against the Dark Arts class. Tom wiped the counter. Tell a few people about Quirrell's experience. At the end, I didn't forget to give a few people a shot in the arm. After all, no one knows what his teacher is like. I'm afraid they all doubt whether he is capable of fulfilling his duties as a teacher, right? Thank you boss for your story, but I think we should go back as soon as possible, although we really want to stay in this magical world for a while longer. Crow pointed at the eagle owl huddled in a cage. But I think they definitely don't want us to stay longer. If we have the chance, we will visit again. Hermione opened her mouth to say something. She wanted to hear more anecdotes about the wizarding world. But Crow said so. Besides, the eagle owl really needs a bigger cage. It will be painful for her to be crammed in a small cage. Oh, it's okay, you two little wizards. If you have the opportunity, you can come here more often. Well, I can get you 2 glasses of juice. Tom burst out laughing. The people in the bar started laughing too. They weren't mocking Crow and Hermione. Just go into a bar and you can only drink juice. It was worse than Merlin's beard. Crow and the others ignored the laughter around them. Walk straight out of the Broken Axe bar. Really, why are you laughing at us? What's so funny about drinking juice? Humph. It's really nothing funny, but among a group of strong men drinking wine, it's funny to see 2 little guys carrying juice. Mr. Granger scratched the back of his head. He avoided looking into his wife's eyes. Mrs. Granger rolled her eyes angrily. They don't have any ill intentions. You don't need to be angry. This kind of thing is very common. Just treat them as if they don't exist. And you, why don't you quickly find a car? Do we have to walk home? Chapter 21. 444 Lily Street. Night. Crow sat cross-legged on the bed, looking forward to seeing the number of treasure chests. Bronze treasure chests, 4. Silver treasure chest, 3. Gold chests, 13. Diamond chest, 2. What a sudden fortune! This wizarding world is indeed a paradise for treasure chests. Come on, let me see if I can take off directly. The system opens the bronze treasure chest first to place at the bottom. Crow rubbed his hands excitedly. Congratulations to the host for opening the bronze treasure chest and receiving the reward, the Heart Sutra of Nurturing Women. Congratulations to the host for opening the bronze treasure chest and receiving the reward, £1,000. Congratulations to the host for opening the bronze treasure chest and receiving a reward, a set of tooth cleaners. Congratulations to the host for opening the bronze treasure chest and receiving the reward, £1,000. Heart Sutra on Raising Daughters. Do you want to raise a genius daughter? Then come and learn the Heart Sutra of Educating Women. Tooth cleaner, tool for cleaning teeth. Take good care of your teeth. Crow expressionlessly threw the Heart Sutra of childbirth out of the window. Thought it was that kind of thing. I didn't expect it to be this kind of thing. What a waste of his expectations. If you is replaced by you, he may jump with excitement. I had expected the contents of this treasure chest to be tattered, but I didn't expect it to be so tattered. Forget it, it's better than nothing. The next thing is the highlight. Come on. Pikachu. Open the silver treasure chest. Crow's anticipation has not diminished at all. Instead, it became more prosperous. There was garbage out front. I'll be even more excited when good stuff comes out later. It's just like the guarantee is issued after 100 rounds. No matter how rubbish the previous ones are. It will be exciting to get what you want later. Congratulations to the host for opening the silver treasure chest and receiving the reward, elementary herbalism knowledge. Congratulations to the host for opening the silver treasure chest and receiving the reward, basic wand making knowledge. Congratulations to the host for opening the silver treasure chest and receiving the reward, basic knowledge on raising magical animals. Elementary herbal knowledge, let you have the same herbal knowledge as a second-year student. Elementary wand making knowledge, let you have the theoretical knowledge of a wand apprentice and be able to carve and make defective wands. Basic knowledge on raising magical animals, let you know how to raise magical animals, such as how to feed an owl into a fat chicken with a round face. Crow raised an eyebrow. I thought owls were just like that. What about Eve? Do you want to be a fat chicken with a round face? Eve, who is extremely energetic in the cage. She turned her head silently. To Crow again. Crow shook his head in amusement. 3 silver treasure chests reveal 3 different pieces of knowledge. Although they are not very useful, it is better than nothing. Crow continued to rub his hands expectantly. The system will open the gold treasure chest again. 10 treasure chests can be combined into a more advanced treasure chest. It is detected that the host has 13 gold treasure chests. Can the host use 10 gold treasure chests to synthesize a diamond treasure chest? Crow frowned and sat up. Trying to recall the system manual in my mind. Is your manual incomplete? Why don't I know you still have this function? If you had told me earlier, I wouldn't have wasted the bronze and silver treasure chests. Crow made some remarks. The system remained silent. Open 3 gold treasure chests first and see what comes out. Crow curled his lips speechlessly. This is not the first time this system has tricked him. We're all used to it. Congratulations to the host for opening the golden treasure chest and receiving the reward, Expelliarmus. Congratulations to the host for opening the golden treasure chest and receiving the reward, Intermediate Transformation Talent. Congratulations to the host for opening the golden treasure chest and receiving the reward, Junior Alchemy Talent. Expelliarmus LV1, after casting, the opponent's wand will fly into your hand and obey you. Intermediate Transformation Talent, it will be easier for you to practice transformation talents, including but not limited to Animagus. Elementary Alchemy Talent, you can refine stones into gold, and you can also refine various weapons. The corners of Crow's mouth raised slightly. 1 charm and 2 talents. Transfiguration should be provided by Professor McGonagall, Alchemy. Dumbledore. It makes sense when you think about it. Professor McGonagall should have told him about me, and he became curious about me, so he gave me this gold treasure chest. Crow shook his head sadly. It's just a pity that the talents found in the golden treasure chest are all elementary and intermediate talents, not even advanced ones. The magic spells are harmless, like eating your weapons. It seems like we really have to bet on the diamond box. The gold treasure box donated by Voldemort is also in it. If the diamond box is synthesized, will the 3 unforgivable curses be cast? Crow frowned in thought. Lucius and Rocky know the 3 unforgivable curses, which means that the probability of these 3 spells being found in the treasure chest is 3 out of 10. The remaining chances are probably magic spells or various talents. But after all, it is a diamond box, so even if it is a magic spell, it should not be much different. I'll give it a try and turn my bicycle into a motorcycle, and the system will help me. Chapter 22. Congratulations to the host for successfully synthesizing a diamond treasure chest from 10 gold treasure chests. Will the host open the diamond treasure chest? I wonder if it's Crow's imagination. I always feel that there is a little excitement in the mechanical sound of the system. Crow shook his head to interrupt the random thoughts in his mind. He did not choose to open the treasure chest directly. Instead, he got out of bed and rushed to the bathroom. After a while, Crow wiped the water stains off his face. I ran back to bed extremely excited. 3 unforgivable curses, severe fire, powerful magical animals. I don't want anyone who is at full level, but I want them to be able to come out. Open the diamond treasure chest. Crow swallowed in anticipation. This was his first time opening a diamond treasure chest. He couldn't help but expect something to happen. Congratulations to the host for opening the diamond treasure chest and receiving the reward, the ultimate black magic talent. The ultimate black magic talent, you are the darling of black magic, the born dark devil. It will be extremely easy for you to practice black magic, your control over black magic will be far better than ordinary people, and the power of the black magic you use will be greatly improved. Note, this talent is an opposing talent, so the host must be careful to guard against the hostility of the white mage. His Crow gasped. The whole person suddenly jumped out of bed. Excellent black magic talent? A born dark lord? Although it is very good, but how much do you want me to die? The headmaster of Hogwarts is Dumbledore, the most powerful white magician. You gave me this whole thing and asked me to guard against the hostility of the white magician. Should I defend myself with my head? How about you just kill me and change the host? Crow lay back on the bed helplessly. What a joke. Born a Dark Lord to enroll in Hogwarts? He didn't think Dumbledore and the others wouldn't be able to tell. Although this talent is really good. But the price is too high. Unless he might as well study at Hogwarts. Find a safe place to lie down. Wait until you are invincible before going out to wander. But this is obviously impossible. Hey, I really don't know if you did it on purpose or not. Sooner or later I will trick you to death. Crow made some speechless remarks. The system remained silent. It's as if it doesn't exist at all. Let's go, I don't believe it today. 3 diamond treasure chests can't bring out what I want. Crow stared angrily. Congratulations to the host for opening the diamond treasure chest and receiving the reward, the ultimate talent for transformation. The ultimate talent for transformation, a natural darling of transformation, you can use any transformation magic at will. Note, this talent level has reached its peak, and this talent will no longer be released in the future. Professor McGonagall's talent for transfiguration. It seems that this box is the one contributed by Professor McGonagall. The last talent should also be contributed by Professor McGonagall, right? I wonder what it can be used to produce? Stone Pier dispatched? Animagus. The system will open the last diamond treasure chest for me. Crow regained his composure. He rubbed his hands with some excitement and sat up. Congratulations to the host for opening the diamond treasure chest and receiving the reward, the best magical animal affinity. The ultimate magical animal affinity, all magical animals will have a crush on you, no matter how dangerous they are. Note, this talent has reached its peak and will no longer be available in the future. The corners of Crow's mouth twitched slightly. Professor McGonagall has this talent? Are you sure this isn't Newt's box? What the hell is it about magical animal affinities? Is it Angeloy's talent? That's not right. If he has the best talent, how could he not be able to tame Eve? Crow frowned in thought. He was pretty sure that this talent was not provided by Professor McGonagall. But I could provide him with a diamond treasure chest at that time. Just Professor McGonagall and Angeloy. But what exactly was Angeloy feeling at the time? Only then can I open a diamond treasure chest for him? And how could this treasure chest contain such a talent? Crow's eyes flickered slightly. Angeloy has the gift of magical animal affinity, otherwise he would not open an owl shop. After all, taming an owl is not an easy task. But his talent level is definitely not high. It's probably just elementary or intermediate, otherwise Eve wouldn't have been tamed by him. Then there is only one possibility left. The treasure box enhances the talent. Even if the person who drops the treasure box has only elementary talent, as long as the level of the treasure box is high enough, there is a chance to unlock the best talent. Thinking of this, Crow shook his head helplessly. It's a pity that people who are not very talented are not very strong, and the probability of dropping a high-grade treasure chest is pitifully low. Maybe it was when I scolded Malfoy this time that Angeloy was shocked and worried about damaging his shop, so he exploded the diamond treasure chest. Crow lay back on the bed, looking out the window at the stars in the sky. It seems that the ideas of pure-blood families are deeply rooted in the wizarding world. Even if the family is in decline, ordinary wizards cannot provoke it. No wonder the Weasley family didn't become like that. Arthur Weasley can still become an official in the Ministry of Magic. The corners of Crow's mouth raised slightly. He thought of another good way to clean the treasure chest. It seems that Slytherin is a place where purebloods gather. I can't do anything if I don't advance. Chapter 23. Early morning. The Grangers went to work after enjoying the breakfast prepared by Crow. They run their own dental practice. It was stopped for a day yesterday. No matter what, we can't close down any more today. Of course, before they left, still contributed 2 bronze treasure chests to Crow. The reason is still Crow's amazing cooking skills. Crow and Hermione were the only 2 people left in the house. Crow, do you think we will really become wizards? I feel so unreal, this all seems like a dream. Hermione was lying in front of the window looking out at the scenery. His eyes were slightly absent-minded. Crow finished packing his things and walked over to her. He wasn't puzzled by Hermione's worries. If one day, suddenly you receive a wonderful letter. I saw some strange people. I also went to strange places. They tell you that there is magic and supernatural powers in the world. And you are the one and only genius. No one can accept this without any scruples. Unless you already knew all this. Crow's eyes flashed and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. Want to know if wizards are real? Then go to Diagon Alley again and you'll find out. Real? Hermione turned around in surprise. Then she lowered her head in despair. But we can't apparate, and we don't know where the Leaky Cauldron is. I read in a book that the Leaky Cauldron has been cast under a Muggle banishing spell. Even if we take a taxi, we can't find the place. Crow smiled and ruffled Hermione's hair. We don't know where it is, but that doesn't mean others don't know where it is. If you want to go, then come with me. Hermione looked up doubtfully. Seeing that Crow was confident and didn't want to lie, she just followed Crow out the door. Before leaving, the two of them also wrote a sticky note and put it on the table. Prevent the return of Mr. and Mrs. Granger. He found out that Hermione had been abducted by him. I found that the two were not there and thought they had an accident. Then call the police or something. That wouldn't be fun. Welcome to ride the night bus next time, too, young wizards. Thanks. The two of them thanked each other politely. The night bus sped away again. It's obviously very fast, but it can accurately twist all passing vehicles. It's like, the car is alive. How do you know there is such a bus? I have never heard of the night bus before, and it is not mentioned in the book. Hermione looked at Crow curiously. She always felt that something was wrong with Crow. Seems to know a lot of things. He is not as mature as a 10-year-old child. But she didn't know what was wrong. Our beautiful little witch, put on your wizarding robes and hold on to your wand. We will enter that magical world again. Everything you are confused about will be answered in the future, but you have to find the answer yourself. Oh, you don't want me to tell you the answer directly, do you? Crow feigned surprise. That would take away the fun of exploring the answer on your own. Our little witch Hermione doesn't really want to do this, does she? Hermione raised her face stubbornly upon hearing this. If you don't tell me, don't tell me. I will find the answer myself. Don't always try to coax me like a child. I'm not, you, forget it. Hermione was about to say that she was not a child. Then I remembered that I was only 10 years old. She was speechless. He could only run to the leaky cauldron angrily. Intense excitement detected. Get reward, silver treasure chest. Crow shook his head in amusement. Treasure girl looked furious. But inside I was extremely excited. What a, little lowly with a sense of contrast. The leaky cauldron. I don't know why today. Even if it's early morning. The whole bar was full of customers. Among them is the turbaned Professor Quirrell. Everyone was drinking beer casually. There was a tacit understanding and they didn't say anything. Just from the expectant looks they looked at the door from time to time. It would prove who they were waiting for. Ding bell, hear the sound of wind chimes as the door opens. Everyone in the bar also looked at the door. When I saw Crow's figure, their eyes showed excitement. There were only a few people who had met Crow and Hermione. He lowered his head regretfully. Among them was Quirrell. It was just the way he looked at Crow and Hermione. There was a hint of murderous intent. But this hint of murderous intent was quickly covered up by him. Crow and Hermione were not his targets. That boy is. Tom, who was wiping the counter, also looked sideways. Oh, two little wizards? Let me see, no, I remember you, 2 glasses of juice. Merlin's beard, do you really want to drink juice when you come here this time? You can't possibly want to enter Diagon Alley, right? Tom asked with confusion on his face. His question also made people in the bar who didn't know Crow lower their heads in disappointment. Only a few picked up their glasses. Looking at Crow and Hermione curiously. What are these 2 kids doing here without an adult accompanying them? Enter through the leaky cauldron. Plus what you're wearing. He was obviously a mixed-race little wizard. How did they find this place? Mr. Tom, there's no need for juice. Our parents are dentists and don't let us drink sweet things. You know, adults do that. We are indeed going into Diagon Alley this time. When we were shopping last time, Professor McGonagall left early because of something, and we forgot to buy some things. Crow pulled a wide-eyed Hermione. He raised his head with an innocent look on his face. Chapter 24. Tom heard the explanation and asked no more questions. Just point to the narrow corridor leading to Diagon Alley. Although Diagon Alley is very safe, you must remember not to run around. If you are not familiar with the road, you may end up in Nocturne Alley by mistake. That's where dark wizards gather, and it's also the cradle of evil. There won't be any bones left that will be chewed on if you go in. Hear what Tom said? Hermione shrank back from Crow in fear. After all, this is an unfamiliar wizarding world. It was just her and Crow, 2 10-year-olds. I had no idea at all. Now it's natural to feel scared if you are frightened by this. Crow took Hermione's hand. Soothe her emotions. Wouldn't eating people spit out bones? Then wouldn't they get stuck? You have to know that getting stuck is very uncomfortable. If it's serious, you may need surgery. Well, in our previous world, surgery was required. Hermione stared at Crow with wide eyes. She had never heard of surgery if something stuck in the throat. Last time she ate fish bones. I just went to the hospital and had it taken out. No surgery at all. I've read about this kind of surgery in books. You have to first slit the patient's neck, then slit his esophagus, and then reach in and take out the stuck owner. It's like this. Oh, that scene, it's amazing. You can clearly see what the trachea and esophagus look like, and you can see what's inside. Crow raised his hand to imitate. Ugh, Merlin's beard, the Muggle world actually teaches this to children. This is simply, so inhumane. No, I can't stand it anymore. Vomit. Everyone watching the show in the bar had stiff faces. One by one they rushed to the toilet. Even Tom was sullen, putting down the things with an expressionless expression. Then he rushed to the toilet at a sprint speed of 100 meters. Strong defense-breaking emotions detected. Get reward, bronze treasure chest. Strong, detected. The system prompts one after another. The corners of Crow's mouth couldn't help but raise. Although most are bronze. Occasionally a few pieces of silver come out. But it's better in numbers. It only takes a moment. He harvested 15 bronze treasure chests. 3 silver treasure chests. Plus 2 bronze treasure chests contributed by the Grangers. He now has 17 bronze treasure chests. Is there really such a book? Why have I never seen it before? Where did you see it? There should be no such book at home. Hermione looked up at Crow. There was no trace of fear on his face. I don't know if I didn't understand what Crow described. Still, holding Crow's hand made her feel at ease. In short, not only was she not afraid. Instead, I became very curious about this book. Crow touched his nose. I saw it when I was in the orphanage. It may have been put in by the donor by mistake. I was afraid of scaring other children, so I took it back to the room and put it on the foot of the bed. Hermione looked a little pity. Forget it, I still want to see what that kind of book looks like. The few people who had just come out of the toilet looked at each other. His expression became extremely embarrassing. Children of the Muggle world. Sure enough, it's so scary. A strong emotion of fear is detected. Get reward, bronze treasure chest. Detected. 4 more bronze treasure chests. Crow was all smiles. The wizarding world is indeed a holy place for treasure chests. These few people here have contributed so much. Not to mention a Hogwarts full of students. Isn't that a paradise for farming treasure chests? Professor Quirrell? Sorry, we didn't see you there. Crow, Crow. Hermione apologized awkwardly to Quirrell. Then he kept tugging at Crow's sleeve. She was just looking around. As a result, they saw Quirrell at the counter with his back to them. If it weren't for the back of the opponent's head wrapped in cloth. I'm afraid she still doesn't recognize it. Crow's eyes flashed. He quickly looked at Quirrell, who was a little embarrassed. This is his big money pig. No nose is his big money pig. No matter the 3 unforgivables. It's still a powerful spell like the fire curse. Even if you don't have a nose, you can do it. Think of this. Crow looked at Quirrell, the eyes on the back of his head became hot. Professor Quirrell, I'm sorry, I was distracted just now. After all, entering the wizarding world again is always a surprise. It's okay, it doesn't matter, I don't blame you. Professor Quirrell gave a forced smile. If Merlin allows it. He never wanted to see Crow in his life. In Muggle terms, Crow is such a naughty kid. At this time, the bar was filled with people again. But the way they looked at Crow and Hermione was a little weird. These 2 kids are so pitiful. You actually have to receive that kind of inhumane education. The corners of Crow's mouth raised slightly. Professor Quirrell, I heard that you are the defense against the dark arts professor at Hogwarts. I just have some questions that I would like to ask. Can you help me answer them? Crow looked at Quirrell with feigned confusion and anticipation. His words instantly attracted everyone in the bar. Hermione frowned slightly. I don't know if it's an illusion. She always felt that Crow seemed a little, to Quirrell. No good intentions. It's like digging a hole for Quirrell to jump into. Chapter 25. Outside the leaky cauldron. Harry Potter's clothes tensed. He looked timidly at the sloppy giant who was more than 3 meters tall beside him. Hagrid, will they really welcome me? After all, I am the redundant one wherever I am. That's how it is at Uncle Vernon's house, or in other words, in this world, I am a superfluous existence. Harry Potter lowered his head in despair. At only 10 years old, he didn't know why he was rejected. All I know is that I'm not welcome there. Hagrid caressed Harry's head with his big hand. You may be redundant to the Muggle world. Harry Potter heard this. His expression became darker. Because you don't belong to the Muggle world, you belong to the Wizarding world. Only here can you understand how important you are. The entire Wizarding world needs you, and all wizards know your name. Harry Potter. Hagrid comforted her in a low voice. Come on Harry, come with me back to your world. The world that can truly accommodate you. Harry Potter swept away the previous haze. Curiously, he followed Hagrid into the leaky cauldron. Ding-dong, the crisp sound of wind chimes sounded. But no one cared. I just thought it was someone waiting to see Harry Potter. Professor Quirrell, you are the professor of defense against the dark arts. You should know about the Dark Lord, right? Crow said with a smile. His words immediately shocked everyone. The same goes for Hagrid, who just wanted to say hello to everyone. The Dark Lord. They haven't heard this title for more than 10 years. Hagrid looked down at Harry Potter with an inexplicable expression. If not for this child, they should still be living in boundless fear, right? Of course I know, a little bit. Why do you ask this? Quirrell bit the bullet. He answered with a stiff face under the gaze of everyone. You idiot, relax, no one here will find out your identity, don't scare yourself. If he found me, how could he still be standing here asking you? Voldemort's angry voice entered Quirrell's mind. Let the stiff-looking Quirrell relax a little. A strong feeling of irritation is detected. Get reward, golden treasure chest. A strong feeling of resentment is detected. Get rewards, gold treasure chest. Intense detected. It only takes a moment. Crow then harvested 2 gold treasure chests. A silver treasure chest. 7 bronze treasure chests. Now he has 28 bronze, 4 silver, and 2 gold. Look at the treasure chest radiating light in the system. Crow couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. Sure enough, I want to stimulate these people with something that has been stored in their hearts for a long time. This is true for pure-blood families. The same goes for Voldemort. They are afraid of these things. These things are their weakness. What do you want to ask, little guy? The Dark Lord is not a cool thing, so don't go astray by reading those messy books. Hagrid walked up to Crow with a serious expression. He warned him very seriously. Then he greeted Quirrell with a smile on his face. Hi, Professor Quirrell, it's an honor to meet you here. Harry, this is Professor Quirrell, the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor at Hogwarts. Hello Professor Quirrell, my name is Harry Potter, please. Harry hadn't finished speaking yet. The whole bar was already shaking. Harry Potter? Oh my god, Merlin's beard, I actually see Harry Potter. Harry Potter, it's great to have you back. You know what? We've been waiting for this moment for 10 years. Welcome back, Harry Potter, welcome home. Everyone rushed forward. Surround Harry Potter in the middle. All kinds of unspeakable excited sounds echoed in the bar. Crow and Hermione were also pushed aside by the excited crowd. Who is Harry Potter? Why have I never heard of him? Is he a famous person? Why are so many people welcoming him? Hermione's brows were filled with curiosity. There was a little bit of envy mixed in with it. She had never experienced this feeling of stars overcoming the moon. Even if it weren't for Crow's appearance. She may only have the Grangers with her. Not to mention this kind of all-star support. This is why she craves recognition. Ha Harry Potter! Nice to see you here. Quirrell shook Harry Potter's hand excitedly. Thank you, Professor. Harry Potter pulled his hand away unnaturally. At the same time, he frowned and rubbed the scar on his forehead. Do not know why. He had just shaken Quirrell's hand. The scars will sting. It seemed to be reminding him of something. Oh Professor Quirrell, you haven't answered my question yet? I don't think there are really teachers who don't want to answer students' questions, right? You are knowledgeable and talented, and you are a professor at Hogwarts. I don't think you can answer my questions, right? Crow interrupted everyone's cheers with a smile on his face. A strong feeling of resentment is detected. Get reward, golden treasure chest. The smile on Quirrell's face faltered. The cheering crowd also looked at the two men again. The same goes for Harry Potter and Hagrid. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.